Chapter 1 Emissary. Under a huge tree in a forest, a young man was thrusting his spear that looked like it was made of gold and silver toward a turtle that hid inside its own shell. The spear went inside the hole and blood soon started dripping out the hole. Killed a carnivorous turtle, normal. EXP +1. Nice work, Theodore. A young man walked toward him. He had short spiky yellow hair and wore a red-colored leather jacket. For his bottom, he had long pants with the same material as his jacket while using a pair of big boots reinforced with steel. Yeah, thanks. He nodded as a strange blue screen appeared. Name, Theodore Griffith. Status, normal. Level, 7. EXP, 2540 seconds. Blessing, none. Skill, Pierce, F, 9 slots remaining. Attributes, Strength 10, Endurance 5, Agility 9, Vitality 5, Magic Power 20. Free attribute points, 0. I have received 3 experience points from 2 turtles. Since the experience is shared, I can't really complain, considering the fight has become easier with their help. Theo let out a long sigh. I am sorry that you are being held back since you are helping me. Another person that turned out to be a beauty came into the scene. She had long blonde hair tied into a ponytail. Her hands were clenching a silver staff with a blue ball on the top. She wore a light yellow blouse coupled with long pants to avoid injuries over something small. Still, the combination of all of them made her look cute, especially with the addition of her innocent face. It's fine. In this situation, we should help each other out. The guy suddenly stopped her from apologizing as if he tried comforting her. Theo only watched his action in silence before shaking his head. Anyway, we should continue. The guy then turned to Theo with a smile while his vision still remained on the female. Deciding not to think more about it, he agreed. He first touched the turtle shell as it disappeared into thin air, leaving nothing behind. He thought nothing of it and moved on. But when the two were about to follow him, loud noises echoed in their surroundings, alarming the whole forest. Even birds immediately flew to the sky to avoid as if something big would happen soon. Theo glanced over his surroundings before finding the ground shaking. What is happening? The girl panicked and screamed. Her face was pale and she subconsciously leaned on the boy next to him. If it happened before, the boy would hug and comfort her, but the shaking ground made his feet go limp. It took all his energy just to stand still. Theodore gritted his teeth as soon as he found that the sound became closer and closer. He then turned around and yelled, "Run!" Out of instinct, the two turned around and began running. No matter what their running form was, they needed to go as fast as possible to avoid whatever that was coming their way. Even Theo followed right behind them and soon caught up. He turned his head to see what was happening behind him and dropped his jaw. Trees were falling down one after another because of a strange creature. It looked like the turtle from earlier but covered in gray. Instead of a pattern on its shell, it had some sort of rock formation sticking out of its shell. The height alone reached 6 feet tall with the width twice of that number. That is a rock turtle. The leader of the carnivore turtle we killed earlier. It is an elite monster that has far surpassed our level. But it should be miles away from us, not here. Theo exclaimed in surprise. Over a few hundred years ago, the Earth experienced high-level technology, starting from communication or even transportation. With technology like that, humanity had found a way to explore the sea and conquer the sky. To their surprise, under the bottom of the sea, they found a Pandora box. When they opened it, Earth transformed into something that even science couldn't comprehend. 1,000 pillars of light shot through the sky, leaving a kind of magic circle behind all over the world. Out of curiosity, humans checked the magic circles only to find themselves teleported into a very strange place. It was a completely different world. A world that human beings couldn't have imagined. In this world, the humans brought their guns, tanks, or even fighter jets to explore the new place. But all of a sudden, they were attacked by strange monsters inside the realm. Their weaponry was able to fight them, but it turned out that the monsters living there were the lowest of their food chains. As soon as the strong monsters appeared, they obliterated the entire armed force from humanity. The human beings that once stood on top of the food chain fell to the bottom. However, humanity didn't entirely leave with an empty hand. They found another source of strength, new to this world. They were surprised to find their body evolved when they killed monsters, turning the whole situation into a game-like world. What made people surprised was that with the addition of this new power, people started receiving a strange voice in their head introducing themselves as some sort of beings. It was then categorized into 7, normal, F, elite, E, champion, D, hero, C, supreme, B, mythical, A and god, S. They later realized that the ranking was completely the same as the monsters in that world, making humanity think that beings of the past, human or not, that had left their legends on Earth granted them power. People could lift a huge boulder or even destroy a skyscraper with this power. The human then united and returned to that world once again, finding that the most primitive fighting skills that were almost forgotten in modern society could be combined with the power coming from the other side to create something more powerful. The martial arts society united and was reinstated, creating a school for many who aspired to be a strong fighter on the other side. The stronger you are, the more respected you are in the eyes of society. It became a popular belief, and many people joined the school, trying to change their fate. Of course, most didn't survive in this harsh world. The horrible creatures that resided in this world murdered many people, but some succeeded in life and became famous. Theodore Griffith was also one of the aspiring people that wanted to change his fate. Unfortunately, he fell into a situation where people got killed by monsters. To survive, the only way to do it was to run. It was at this moment the event that turned his life upside down took place. Kaya. The girl got tripped by a big root sticking out of the ground as she immediately wanted to rise again, but to no avail. Theodore turned around and grabbed her hand, pulling her up. The other one also helped her up before noticing that a mere few seconds were what it took for the turtle to catch up with them. Out of desperation, the woman instinctively pulled Theodore's hand even stronger. At the same time, the man beside him pushed his back. With the sudden push, Theo stumbled and fell instead. The two only gazed at him with a weird smile, bulged veins and wide eyes as if they just realized what they needed to do in this situation. Theo stretched his hand and opened his mouth wide, albeit no word came out. In school, he was often bullied by his classmates because of his unbalanced state. Looking at his status, he appeared to be someone who excelled in both magic and physical ability. However, his status was nothing compared to those who only excelled in one aspect. With the addition of his poor status, he became a perfect target for people to satisfy their ego that they were above someone else and got bullied as a result. Nonetheless, he decided to continue his life as if nothing happened, ignoring the bullies since none of them actually tried to kill him or something. He strongly believed that there would be a time where he could change his standing until he got into a situation that kept his sanity this whole time, the betrayal. He then sensed the turtle's presence next to him as he instinctively raised his spear to the side. The turtle struck the spear with its head, almost snapping it into two. It didn't stop there. The force behind it kept pushing until it reached Theodore and blew him away. Bam. Caw. Theodore spat a mouthful of blood as he realized some of his bones were broken when he crashed into a tree. Due to the impact, his head also hit the tree pretty hard, and blood flowed down his face, dyeing his vision red. Ugh. I can't move. Theo thought after realizing he had no energy left to even open his mouth. The monster looked at him, stood proudly, and roared as if telling him that it would kill him. Is this the end? Regret filled his heart. In the face of death, a certain thought appeared in his mind. Humanity is idiotic, greedy, prideful, resentful, depraved. In the face of death, betrayal is what most people think. To save their own life, they could do whatever. Humanity is a seeking piece of SHT. Ah. How wonderful it is if I have the power to reset mankind once again. They won't be any worse than this, right? His vision had turned blurry, and his consciousness had become fuzzy, knowing that his death was near. No matter how he cursed humanity, his wish wouldn't be fulfilled. If only I have another chance. He looked at the turtle that wanted to crush him, gradually closed his eyes and accepted his death before a strange voice echoed in his ears. God of Mischief is interested in you and wants you to be his emissary. Do you accept? Chapter 2, Fighting Back. God of Mischief is interested in you and wants you to be his emissary. Do you accept? With his fuzzy consciousness and hopeless situation, Theo instinctively thought, yes. There was no meaning behind it other than his will to live. Just like he said earlier, if he had a chance to live, he would take it. God of Mischief has granted you the representative position. Congratulations, you now have become the trickster. Mess this world up with your wisdom. Because you are in the face of death, God of Mischief has given you one skill and a chance. Clone, F. Full recovery. As soon as the notification finished, warm energy started enveloping his body, fixing every broken bone and closing all the wounds. Right after that, Theo finally regained his ability to think and stared at the incoming turtle. He rolled on the ground and stood up a few feet away from the turtle. Holding his bent spear awkwardly, he recalled what just happened. The turtle crashed into the tree and had yet to recover, so he opened up his own status to check the new skill he got. Skill, Clone, F upgradable. Effect, a skill that allows the user to create a clone of himself. Due to the current skill rank, the user can only create the same body and control its movement. Other parts such as voice, skill, and so on are still locked. Theo was stunned by the powerful skill, and he could hardly believe it was true. What happened to him was called a blessing, literally. Beings or legends of the past could lend their power to humans and granted them skills. The higher the rank who gave them the blessings, the more powerful the skills they would get. To think he would get a blessing from a god, the one stood on the top, it felt surreal. As much as he wanted to inspect everything he got, the turtle had already recovered and glared at him, preparing for another charge. But to think a god will have me as their envoy. Since you want me to screw the world, I will do it. I will reach the top and fix this world. Theo raised his bent spear and pointed it toward the turtle. But before that, I need to survive here. He knew that the turtle's speed was faster than him, so it would be hard to escape. Clone. Theo activated the skill he got from the blessing. He felt his power left his body, turning into another him. This is such a weird feeling, but I think I can control it with my mind. The clone gradually moved its body, and the turtle charged at him. With only that little time, Theo learned at least some basic movements for his clone as they both suddenly turned around and ran. The turtle followed both of them and entered the woods again. As expected, the trees couldn't slow it down. Knowing that his plan failed, Theo should start panicking, but after getting the skill, a door of opportunities was opened in front of him. After exactly 30 seconds of chasing, the two made a 40-degree turn in the opposite direction, confusing the turtle a little bit. However, the turtle remembered which one was the original body and immediately chased the one going to the right. Theo's smile became even bigger as he took another turn to the left. 2 minutes later, he met up with his clone right behind a big tree, disappearing for a split second. The turtle easily confirmed Theo's real body after the first sharp turn and chased only the one carrying the spear, which was the one going to the left side. Little did the turtle know that Theo just passed each other, handed the spear to his clone, and ran straight. Due to the turtle's constant chasing, Theo's clone started making a zigzag movement, trying to confuse the turtle in this tree. Unfortunately for him, the last hope flew away as he met a dead end. When Theo realized this, it was already too late. Even if he tried to move in another direction, the turtle would be able to strike him, so the only place he could go to stay alive longer was to go out of the woods and ended up in a bell-shaped stone cliff. Roar! The turtle sneezed at his foolishness and kept charging at him. But the turtle didn't realize that this Theo wasn't sweating at all despite the long run. With the tree starting to get cleared, he should have no other way out. It was when he passed the last tree, a surprise came from behind it. It was another Theo. He carried a head-size rock and struck the turtle's eyes. The turtle might have thick skin or high defense, but there would always be a soft spot and, in this case, the eyes. The turtle screamed as blood flowed out of its right eye because Theo just destroyed its eye. Losing its right vision and feeling the pain were enough to make the turtle lose its focus as it kept going toward the stone wall. Theo took this opportunity and headed right in front of the wall. He set the spear's butt on the wall and positioned it to make sure that it pointed straight at the turtle's head. Bam! A huge crack appeared on the wall, but it wasn't enough to destroy it. Roar! The turtle's voice got even louder when the bent spear managed to pierce its head, accidentally hitting the brain. However, Theo, who was supposed to be holding the spear, was nowhere to be seen. Only the one that struck the rock stayed and watched the progress with calmness. As expected, it might be able to bend the spear, but if I had a supporting force like a wall and placed the spear in the right position, it would be strong enough to pierce the turtle's head. Theo smirked evilly. Now sleep, foolish creature. The trick he used earlier to change. The turtle's focus saved his life. God of Mischief is happy with your trick and luck. God of Mischief grants you the ability to see the skill upgrades requirement. Skill, Clone, F upgradable. Upgrade, Fuse 5 rank F skills 0/5. Effect, a skill that allows the user to create a clone of himself. Due to the current skill rank, the user can only create the same body and control its movement. Other parts such as voice, skill, and so on are still locked. However, Theo's eyes had yet to return from the turtle, making sure that it died before doing anything else. A few seconds later, it gradually stopped moving and fell down. Killed a rock turtle, elite. EXP plus 1735. You have leveled up. 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 After confirming its death, he placed his hand on the turtle's shell as the body gradually disappeared. When a hunter like him touched the monsters in this world, they could drop a card. This card then became a skill card or material card. He expected a card from the carnivore turtle but didn't get anything. Fortunately, he saw a black card, twice the size of his palm, swaying left and right before it touched the ground. Theo picked the card up. Pure stone, E. 50 pounds of pure stone from rock turtle's back. Theo stroked his chin and thought, the pure stone is used to sharpen a weapon. It can even be considered one of the best grindstones. Since my spear is broken, I should sell this card and get the money to buy a spear since I don't have enough money to pay someone to make a weapon from it. He raised his vision and saw the spear had completely snapped into two and most parts had become flat. Never mind. I will bring it back with me as it is still usable as a distraction on my way back. He sighed and picked up the flattened spear before checking his status. Status, normal. Level, 20. EXP, 110-246. Blessing, God of Mischief. Skill, Pierce, F, Clone, F, 8 slots remaining. Attributes, Strength 10, Endurance 5, Agility 9, Vitality 5, Magic Power 20. Free attribute points, 65. Every time someone levels up, they are granted free attribute points. For me, I've got 65 points with 5 for each level, so I have leveled up 13 times. Considering I still need to go through a forest, he paused for a minute and chose 25 points to strength, 10 points to endurance, 15 points to agility, 10 points to vitality, and the rest are to magic power. Perfection. The clone technique is quite taxing for me, so I think it's fine to add some points to my magic power. Theo nodded. Well, I was born with exceptional power in magic, but I didn't have any monetary support to get skills on the market. And with me usually going alone, I need to increase my strength to fend for myself. Still, the turtle only gave me 1735 EXP, even though an elite monster is, at least, level 51. The turtle might be close to that level, I guess. He let out a long sigh. No, I should be grateful that someone like me was able to kill a monster at this level. At least, I have gotten far stronger than I used to be. Time to head back. With that thought in mind, he began running toward the portal. Chapter 3, An Unknown Party. Not long after Theo left the area, a group consisting of 2 females and 3 males appeared. Captain. From the aftermath alone, I believe the turtle died in this place. One of the men informed a yellow-haired female. She pinched the bridge of her nose and observed the cracks on the wall and craters on the ground. Did someone kill it? I couldn't see any clues leading to a group killing the turtle. The turtle seemed to go down with just a single strike from the little amount of blood scattered around the area. It must be a vital part. But was there any high-level person in this area? This place is for new people who try to increase their level. It's true that the turtle was an elite monster, but it just evolved not long ago, so the level was pretty low. This person must be around level 20 to level 30 to have the ability to kill a monster like this. There is a high chance that the pure stone card dropped, so I want you to check if the card suddenly gets in the market. Understood? Do you want to recruit that person, Captain? Yeah. This person must be special just by seeing how the turtle was killed. I will give you the report about the market every day. The man nodded. Little did they know the one who killed the elite monster was just a level 7 young man. And that person was still running toward the base where he was registered, Art Beats Castle. He stumbled upon 2 matters of importance and kept thinking about them on the way. I wonder when I should get my own revenge. I have finally got the power to change my fate, but I am still clueless about this power. Even the God of Mischief told me that I was lucky to kill the turtle. I should increase my strength first before thinking about revenge. Of course, I have no plan in forgiving them who sacrificed me and the others who bullied me in school. Theo's face was serious and his voice held a glimmer of killing intent. The desire to fight back that had been suppressed this whole time could finally see the light even though it wasn't the time yet. While thinking about the time, a giant metallic wall came into his vision as he raised his head. It was a kind of traditional castle with a square wall and 4 outposts in each corner. The only difference was the materials. Instead of stone, it was built purely with metal. Theo looked at the big gun on top of the tower. It had 2 barrels that could shoot a bullet as big as a normal car. This weapon was called a siege gun. Despite its size and menacing name, it didn't hold the almighty power like in everyone's mind. It started when humans began expanding in this world. After having continuous evolutions, the guns had become more powerful than ever. It might not reach the level of a plasma gun or a laser gun, but a normal pistol already had enough power to create a giant hole in one's body with just a single bullet. Yet, when they arrived here, they realized that this kind of power didn't even manage to kill the rock turtle. Humanity then brought tanks and any heavyweight vehicles to crush them. Unfortunately, the stronger monsters came and crushed them again. Hence, they realized that the cost was too much to bear and cancelled the operation. It was at this time a mysterious power became famous and all countries around the world began researching it. After a series of investigations, they confirmed that this power was the most effective and cost-efficient way to fight the monsters in this world. The governments then started researching this new power and tried to incorporate them into their current military technology such as guns. Unfortunately, due to the complexity of the composition of a bullet, it didn't fit well with the materials they could find in this world, resulting in the abundant cost just for a bullet. The era of traditional weapons then became popularized again when all the blacksmiths around the world learned how to craft a sword, spear, and other things with the materials from this world. And unlike guns and modern weapons, the cost was so low, allowing mass production. As for plasma guns or something similar, it was just a movie's concept, not how the real world worked. The media kept informing the progress. Before long, every person in the world, even those who didn't read the news daily, knew about this. Due to that, the advancement of mechanical weapons like guns and such stagnated. Even so, there was still a belief that they could modernize the weapon once again, but it was certainly not in the current era. Thus, the reason why Theo got slightly concerned when seeing the siege gun was that he didn't mind about the money the government put on the development, but he realized that they shouldn't put too much there and help the small citizens like him instead. The turtle should be in the deeper part of the forest, so how could it reach my position? Theo shook his thought off and furrowed his eyebrows while running. I didn't think much about this earlier, but was there someone who brought this turtle here? As soon as he realized the real problem, he hesitated to sell the pure stone card he got earlier. He took out a 4-inch cylinder from his pocket and shook it as a blue screen appeared. Clicking a few times, he arrived at what he wanted to see. ID, 280,104,977,610. Name, Theodore Griffith. Balance, 300 ZIL. With modernized power, the currency had turned into one, and it became even more supported when they found this world. It made everything simpler. Ace. This is not going to be enough to buy a weapon. It's barely enough for my cheap rent this month. While lamenting of his poor balance, he had arrived in front of the base. There was a line of people wanting to get in through a small door right next to a giant metal gate. They never used the giant gate except for a big expedition that required big vehicles, so Theo immediately went right behind the last person, waiting for his turn. After 15 minutes, he finally got his turn. A middle-aged man with a green military uniform came to him and asked, "May I see your ID?" Theo nodded and took out the same device and opened not his bank account but his ID card. ID, 280,104,977,610. Name, Theodore Griffith. Status, normal. The middle-aged man recorded his ID in his own device before giving him a thumbs up, telling him he could proceed. Thanks. Theo walked in, seeing the bustling town. He could see a series of buildings on either side. Most of them were stores from restaurants to weapon stores, while the rest were either a hotel or hotel plus that would let people relieve their stress and rest their body after coming back alive. Without wasting a single second, he headed toward the weapon shop where he always bought his weapon, only to be hesitant at the last second. Pure stone is still an elite rank material. If I suddenly come and sell this material, they will either suspect me stealing this or recording my data in their store when they know I am not an elite. Both cases will give me a headache. He stroked his chin, falling into deep thought. I know that I am a bit paranoid, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I should sell it in another store and maybe hide my identity. With that thought in mind, a certain shop came into his view. It was just a stall, but it sold what he needed right now. Walking toward the stall, he looked at the merchandise that this stall had to offer. He came across one pattern that he liked. "Boss, I want this one." Theo pointed at the mask and asked the middle-aged man, How much? 5 zills for one mask. Theo nodded and scanned the ID of the store, automatically sending the money. Here you go. The middle-aged man handed the mask. The mask didn't have any fancy decoration or patterns. It only had one smiley face, but that of a clown. Thinking about the god of mischief, he thought this one would suit him. He took the mask and walked straight down the road. Time to take a bath first. And I should put on a cloak since I need to hide my hair as well. If people knew that I got an S-rank blessing, there would be a bloodbath, especially with those who often bully me. It's true that those who have a blessing are often recruited by big firms, but they won't have their freedom anymore. Other than becoming stronger, I still have another thing to do. It's a bit contradicting my goal, but who cares? I will do whatever I can to change this world, whether with heroic deed or malice. Without him noticing, there was a slight smile on his face. I guess I need another identity as my cover. Theo then walked straight down the road for a few minutes before a big white platform came into his vision. There was no decoration in the white platform other than 7 pillars on the edges. This was the mysterious thing that appeared on Earth when mankind opened the Pandora box, teleportation circle. He was planning to head back to cover his appearance before selling the pure stone. He climbed the stairs and saw a magic circle with many weird symbols around it. Since the military only checked their identity when they left or came to the base, the people could use the magic circle as they liked, except for the fact that they limited that every odd hour the people could only come to this world, while every even hour, people could return to Earth. This simple rule managed to keep the traffic here minimal since it only needed around 1 second to use it. Pouring a little bit of energy, the magic circle glowed for a second as his vision turned white. Here we go. Chapter 3, An Unknown Party. Not long after Theo left the area, a group consisting of 2 females and 3 males appeared. Captain. From the aftermath alone, I believe the turtle died in this place. One of the men informed a yellow-haired female. She pinched the bridge of her nose and observed the cracks on the wall and craters on the ground. Did someone kill it? I couldn't see any clues leading to a group killing the turtle. The turtle seemed to go down with just a single strike from the little amount of blood scattered around the area. It must be a vital part. But was there any high-level person in this area? This place is for new people who try to increase their level. It's true that the turtle was an elite monster, but it just evolved not long ago, so the level was pretty low. This person must be around level 20 to level 30 to have the ability to kill a monster like this. There is a high chance that the pure stone card dropped, so I want you to check if the card suddenly gets in the market. Understood? Do you want to recruit that person, Captain? Yeah. This person must be special just by seeing how the turtle was killed. I will give you the report about the market every day. The man nodded. Little did they know the one who killed the elite monster was just a level 7 young man. And that person was still running toward the base where he was registered, Art Beats Castle. He stumbled upon 2 matters of importance and kept thinking about them on the way. I wonder when I should get my own revenge. I have finally got the power to change my fate, but I am still clueless about this power. Even the god of mischief told me that I was lucky to kill the turtle. I should increase my strength first before thinking about revenge. Of course, I have no plan in forgiving them who sacrificed me and the others who bullied me in school. Theo's face was serious and his voice held a glimmer of killing intent. The desire to fight back that had been suppressed this whole time could finally see the light even though it wasn't the time yet. While thinking about the time, a giant metallic wall came into his vision as he raised his head. It was a kind of traditional castle with a square wall and 4 outposts in each corner. The only difference was the materials. Instead of stone, it was built purely with metal. Theo looked at the big gun on top of the tower. It had 2 barrels that could shoot a bullet as big as a normal car. This weapon was called a siege gun. Despite its size and menacing name, it didn't hold the almighty power like in everyone's mind. It started when humans began expanding in this world. After having continuous evolutions, the guns had become more powerful than ever. It might not reach the level of a plasma gun or a laser gun, but a normal pistol already had enough power to create a giant hole in one's body with just a single bullet. Yet, when they arrived here, they realized that this kind of power didn't even manage to kill the rock turtle. Humanity then brought tanks and any heavyweight vehicles to crush them. Unfortunately, the stronger monsters came and crushed them again. Hence, they realized that the cost was too much to bear and cancelled the operation. It was at this time a mysterious power became famous and all countries around the world began researching it. After a series of investigations, they confirmed that this power was the most effective and cost-efficient way to fight the monsters in this world. The governments then started researching this new power and tried to incorporate them into their current military technology such as guns. Unfortunately, due to the complexity of the composition of a bullet, it didn't fit well with the materials they could find in this world, resulting in the abundant cost just for a bullet. The era of traditional weapons then became popularized again when all the blacksmiths around the world learned how to craft a sword, spear, and other things with the materials from this world. And unlike guns and modern weapons, the cost was so low, allowing mass production. As for plasma guns or something similar, it was just a movie's concept, not how the real world worked. The media kept informing the progress. Before long, every person in the world, even those who didn't read the news daily, knew about this. Due to that, the advancement of mechanical weapons like guns and such stagnated. Even so, there was still a belief that they could modernize the weapon once again, but it was certainly not in the current era. Thus, the reason why Theo got slightly concerned when seeing the siege gun was that he didn't mind about the money the government put on the development, but he realized that they shouldn't put too much there and help the small citizens like him instead. The turtle should be in the deeper part of the forest, so how could it reach my position? Theo shook his thought off and furrowed his eyebrows while running. I didn't think much about this earlier, but was there someone who brought this turtle here? As soon as he realized the real problem, he hesitated to sell the pure stone card he got earlier. He took out a 4-inch cylinder from his pocket and shook it as a blue screen appeared. Clicking a few times, he arrived at what he wanted to see. ID, 280,104,977,610. Name, Theodore Griffith. Balance, 300 zil. With modernized power, the currency had turned into one, and it became even more supported when they found this world. It made everything simpler. Ace. This is not going to be enough to buy a weapon. It's barely enough for my cheap rent this month. While lamenting of his poor balance, he had arrived in front of the base. There was a line of people wanting to get in through a small door right next to a giant metal gate. They never used the giant gate except for a big expedition that required big vehicles, so Theo immediately went right behind the last person, waiting for his turn. After 15 minutes, he finally got his turn. A middle-aged man with a green military uniform came to him and asked, "May I see your ID?" Theo nodded and took out the same device and opened not his bank account but his ID card. ID, 280,104,977,610. Name, Theodore Griffith. Status, normal. The middle-aged man recorded his ID in his own device before giving him a thumbs up, telling him he could proceed. Thanks. Theo walked in, seeing the bustling town. He could see a series of buildings on either side. Most of them were stores from restaurants to weapon stores, while the rest were either a hotel or hotel plus that would let people relieve their stress and rest their body after coming back alive. Without wasting a single second, he headed toward the weapon shop where he always bought his weapon only to be hesitant at the last second. Pure stone is still an elite rank material. If I suddenly come and sell this material, they will either suspect me stealing this or recording my data in their store when they know I am not an elite. Both cases will give me a headache. He stroked his chin, falling into deep thought. I know that I am a bit paranoid, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I should sell it in another store and maybe hide my identity. With that thought in mind, a certain shop came into his view. It was just a stall, but it sold what he needed right now. Walking toward the stall, he looked at the merchandise that this stall had to offer. He came across one pattern that he liked. Boss, I want this one. Theo pointed at the mask and asked the middle-aged man. How much? 5 zils for one mask. Theo nodded and scanned the ID of the store, automatically sending the money. Here you go. The middle-aged man handed the mask. The mask didn't have any fancy decoration or patterns. It only had one smiley face, but that of a clown. Thinking about the god of mischief, he thought this one would suit him. He took the mask and walked straight down the road. Time to take a bath first. And I should put on a cloak since I need to hide my hair as well. If people knew that I got an S-rank blessing, there would be a bloodbath, especially with those who often bully me. It's true that those who have a blessing are often recruited by big firms, but they won't have their freedom anymore. Other than becoming stronger, I still have another thing to do. It's a bit contradicting my goal, but who cares? I will do whatever I can to change this world, whether with heroic deed or malice. Without him noticing, there was a slight smile on his face. I guess I need another identity as my cover. Theo then walked straight down the road for a few minutes before a big white platform came into his vision. There was no decoration in the white platform other than 7 pillars on the edges. This was the mysterious thing that appeared on Earth when mankind opened the Pandora box, teleportation circle. He was planning to head back to cover his appearance before selling the pure stone. He climbed the stairs and saw a magic circle with many weird symbols around it. Since the military only checked their identity when they left or came to the base, the people could use the magic circle as they liked, except for the fact that they limited that every odd hour the people could only come to this world, while every even hour people could return to Earth. This simple rule managed to keep the traffic here minimal since it only needed around 1 second to use it. Pouring a little bit of energy, the magic circle glowed for a second as his vision turned white. Here we go. Chapter 4, Weapon Shop. A few years ago, a 17-year-old male with deep blue hair smiled at a young kid with the same hair color. Patting his head, he put on the warmest smile and said, "Listen up, Theo. Big bro needs to do something and I can't return for a few years. I know that my Theo is strong and can do everything by himself. Big bro is enjoying your food, you know. That's why I know that Theo will grow up just fine." The little Theo's face turned pale as he grabbed his brother's sleeve and asked, "Are you going to leave me, big brother? You won't come back like mother and father. Then, won't Theo become alone from now on?" "No. I don't want to be alone anymore." He couldn't help but cling to his hand, not wanting to let it go. "Listen to me, Theo. Your big brother needs to go. I need to fight against bad monsters that will endanger my precious Theo. You are smart, but if you find someone more important than your life, you won't mind doing anything for them. You are the most important thing in my life, so big brother isn't afraid to fight out there for a few years. Then, I can follow you. Theo can fight too. Big brother is the most important thing to Theo, so I want to protect you." "Ahaha, thank you for the thought, but hear me out, Theo. You can't go with me this time. Although it will take a bit too long, please believe in your big brother. I will certainly go home. You must take care of yourself, okay?" He smiled. "When I come home, I want you to welcome me with a big party. Can you do that?" On. Theo wanted to cry but held back his tears, using all his energy to nod a few times. "Good. If you find yourself in trouble that you can do nothing about, take this with you to meet someone." He took out a pocket watch and handed it to Theo. "Remember, don't open this pocket watch unless you find yourself in a situation with no way out. You will know what to do and where to go as soon as you open this. Of course, don't use this to find your brother because you won't be able to find me. On. Theo will treasure this. That's my Theo." He patted his head a few more times before rising to his feet. "I will be going now. Take care, okay?" "Yes, big brother. Theo will always be waiting for you." Theo looked at his brother's back until he couldn't see him anymore before locking himself up in the house and crying. Crick, crick, crick. Crick, crick, crick. In a small dark room, Theo was sleeping on a broken bed. Next to the bed, on the table, was the same cylindrical device Theo took out yesterday. He gradually opened his eyes and grabbed his device with sleepy eyes. "Ugh, my head," Theo mumbled and opened his device to watch the morning news while preparing himself. As soon as he found his usual channel, the device projected it on the air as if there was a television on the table. Alaric Group President Hans Alaric entered the 5th rank, or the one we know as Supreme Rank, in the age of 45. He is known as the father figure of the Alaric Group, but it seems he has been working hard not only to build the foundation of our economy but also the strength of our country. This is something to be rejoiced for. However, he himself said that his talent is nothing compared to his daughter, Aaliyah Alaric. According to our information, she almost reached champion rank. We don't know about her current level, but we can safely assume she is above 130, only 20 levels short of becoming a champion rank. Many are saying that her strength is as strong as any prodigies all over the world. This is something that we should be proud of because big countries will begin to look our way and brighten the future of our country. It's true. Everyone holds high expectations of her. I can't wait to see what will happen in the next 10 years or 20 or even 30 years from now. Theo stayed silent when he heard the news before sighing. She is lucky to have a wealthy family. Theo let out another long sigh before walking toward the table, holding the neatly framed picture and putting it on the table. It was the picture of 4 people, all smiling. I don't know why I would dream about you again, big brother. But you haven't fulfilled your promise. Well, I can't say anything because I don't have enough money to create a big party for you. But I will be able to do it shortly. Since you haven't come home for years, I will try to find you. Father and Mother in heaven must want to see our family reunite again. Don't worry. I finally have the chance. He smiled. With a newly found determination, he looked at the long black coat next to his bed and put it on. He fixed his hair and tried his new mask, making sure that his hair couldn't be seen as long as he put on the hood. After having breakfast, he left the room. His apartment was inside a small and dark alley since the rent was cheap. Even with the money his brother left him, it wasn't enough for him to last until graduation, so he needed to keep living like this and used all the money to pay for his tuition. When he reached outside, the only thing he found was filled trash bins. The rotting and disgusting smell filled his nose, but he only ignored it as though he had grown accustomed to it. He simply thought there was no different than having a monster corpse in the front door. He glanced to the right, looking at the bustling city road. The plans should be perfect, but Theo took another few deep breaths before walking, visibly nervous from the thought of him failing the disguise. He would surely be noticeable when he went there, but they would most likely think he was just someone who hunted monsters on the other side of the world. With that thought in mind, he finally stepped on the main road. The floating cars and loud people's noises reverberated in his ears. The clean building and traffic filled his vision. He only shook his head and headed straight to the bus station where he could have a free ride, considering it was public transportation. The stop was the same magic circle he went through yesterday. At first, he wanted to go to another city's magic circle, but he had no money to go there. Of course, there was an option where he could sell it on this side, but unlike the other side, the security was strict. The other side didn't have cameras covering the whole city and business, so his identity was safer if he did his business there. Arriving at a similar white platform like the other side, he immediately climbed the stairs and headed straight toward the magic circle, ignoring the lake scenery that happened to be next to the platform. He blinked his eyes and the next thing he realized was that the scenery had changed to what he remembered about the other side. There was no time to waste for him, so he began walking straight to the weapon shop he planned to visit. This weapon shop was not his usual one, so no one would know it was him. After several precautions, Theo believed there wouldn't be a problem. Even though it took him half an hour to walk there, everything felt worth it. He raised his vision, looking at a slightly better-looking building than his apartment building before entering without much thought about it. As long as he knew that this shop had the credibility to pay what people sold and sell what people wanted to buy, he had no qualms about its appearance no matter how deserted it looked. However, Theo found himself tongue-tied when he entered the building. Unlike his earlier expectations, the inside looked neat and clean. The white floor and wall had no dirt or dust on them, the weapons and armors presented themselves, hanging on the wall, and not too crowded places indirectly told him this was the best place to sell something. He searched for the shopkeeper and found him on the corner of the store, specifically on the opposite of the door, making one wonder why someone made this kind of arrangement since people could hide the weapon and leave without paying. Did the owner not think there is a possibility of the customer stealing his items? Theo furrowed his eyebrows before shaking his head. No, I don't have time to worry about the others. I need to finish my objective as soon as possible. He walked straight to the counter. The shopkeeper was a bald old man, including the beard. Even though Theo considered him an old man, it wasn't like he had too many wrinkles on his face. In fact, he appeared like someone barely in his 50s. Welcome, young man. How can I help you? He fixed his shirt and rose from his seat, greeting Theo with his warmest smile. Since the other party acted this polite, Theo chose to remain as polite as possible to an old man like him. Hello, sir. I would like to sell something. Of course. We will buy everything as long as it's in our means. He nodded, feeling a bit happy with how polite Theo was even though he couldn't see his hair or face. However, he still managed to take a glimpse of the sparkling light blue eyes hidden by the mask. I would like to sell a pure stone card. Theo took the card out of his pocket and handed it to the shopkeeper. When he received the card, he furrowed his eyebrows and glanced back and forth between him and the card as if he didn't believe Theo. Is there something wrong, sir? No, I will process this immediately. Please wait for 3 minutes. He shook his head mysteriously before pushing the door behind him and entering the room. Chapter 5, Mysterious Old Man. Waiting for the old man to finish his business, Theo decided to look around but didn't move from his position. The crime rate in this place was high in this world, so he couldn't let his guard down. Even when he was talking to the old man, he had turned on the camera that he hid inside his shirt, recording the conversation. This way, even if the old man tried to play the fool, he had enough evidence to get back his card or money as compensation. The same applied when he walked around the store. The old man might consider him a new customer instead of a seller. Even if he claimed that he had sold the card to him, the old man just needed to say he didn't know anything. Therefore, this recording could be presented to the authorities as proof to help him. With this thought in mind, he proceeded to observe his surroundings. There were not many people in this shop, but he felt that the weapon was clean and looked dazing. I don't have eyes for weapons, so I can't really say anything regarding the weapons here, but from the appearance alone, they look pretty nice. When he lowered his eyes a bit, he noticed that the prices were not that different from the market. Should I buy the weapon here? No, since I have a new identity, should I use another weapon? He lost in thought until the old man returned and tapped his shoulder. Young man, are you going to trade this? I have confirmed the card and can buy it for 10,000 zills. What do you think? 10,000 zills. Is it high, low, or average? Ah, it's my blunder. I should research the price first. Because I never had a card like this, I didn't think it through. Contemplating for a minute, Theo decided to take the deal. However, when he was about to say something, he remembered the weapons inside the store. He checked their prices and asked the old man instead. By the way, can I buy the weapons using the money I got? Sure. Which weapons do you like? The old man nodded with a smile. Theo then searched the weapons and took 2 weapons, 1 sword, 1 spear. You have good eyes. This sword is made of pure stone as well, so its capability doesn't need to be questioned. It's an elite weapon. As for the other one, it's made of caloric metal, not that much different than the sword. It's also an elite weapon. Suddenly, Theo realized another thing. He had been too focused and overthinking the whole situation to the point he forgot his real identity. No money and no status. If such a person suddenly wielded an elite weapon, especially after a tragic accident not long ago, many would suspect him. With so many bullies in his school, he couldn't afford to stand out. Realizing all this, he picked up another spear. I would like to buy this one as well. This one is a normal iron spear. The quality is quite good. For your brother? Yes. It's for my younger brother. Well, your younger brother is lucky to have a brother like you. The old man nodded and registered the weapons. The total is 8,700 zills. Yes. Please proceed. Theo nodded. This is a special service from me. I will give you the belt to carry your sword. The old man appeared to like Theo quite a bit. The belt alone was supposed to be 300 zills, so it was very expensive for Theo. It was equal to 1 month's rent in that cheap apartment. Theo accepted the gift and nodded his head politely. Thank you. I will send you the remaining 1,300 zills. The old man took out his device from the pocket. Theo did the same, so the old man could scan the device number to send the money. He then typed the amount and sent it. In just 1 second, Theo received the notification about the transfer and confirmed it with the old man. Thank you very much. He thanked him and grabbed the 3 weapons, ready to head back home. Thank you for your patronage. Do come here again if you need a weapon or sell material. I will be giving you a special discount. Theo didn't think much about it since he got pretty good weapons. Even though the 2 were considered elite rank weapons, they were at the very bottom, barely reaching elite rank. He was still satisfied with it, though. He believed the next weapons upgrade would come soon, so there was no need to search for a perfect and expensive one. Turning around, he left the shop and went straight home. Unbeknownst to Theo, half an hour after he left, the same woman who hunted the turtle he killed earlier turned up. She walked to the old man and called him with something that no one would ever expect. Grandfather. Let's go back home. Why? I have already retired. Even so, you shouldn't be here. If you want to run a shop for your retirement, we have many shops on the other side. This is why all of you are still relying on me. You have never understood my plan. Do you think I am here just because I want to be here? No, there is another reason. The old man shook his head. What do you mean? The girl furrowed her eyebrows. Our country is small and became independent 200 years ago. Unlike those superpowers, what we need the most right now is talented young people to raise the country's worth. Unfortunately, the clean city doesn't allow me to see talented individuals. So, you are here to scout people? For our family or the country? Both. The old man shrugged. Just earlier, I met a peculiar one. The female tilted her head in confusion. I don't feel the aura of the strong from him. Even if you are a student, I can speculate how many battles you have fought with your aura alone. Like you, I can see you are still elite rank. However, what I see from here is nothing, as if he is just a normal rank. So, he sold me a pure stone card. Can you believe a normal rank hunter actually killed a rock turtle? The old man smiled slyly. What did you say? He sold me a pure stone card. Where is he? She slammed the table and looked at him intensely. Why are you acting this way? Look, you are bothering the customers. The old man pointed his finger around. You haven't returned for a month, so you must not know this. The female facepalmed and explained. I had a mission to kill a rock turtle pack as an assessment. However, we made a blunder and let one of them escape. But when we investigated it, we found that it was already dead in the outskirts of this Art Beats castle. Oh. The old man became even more curious. Look. I just proved my point. I met the man who killed the turtle not long ago. You wouldn't find him elsewhere in the clean road. He looked like a poor guy. Even when I bought the pure stone card with 10,000 zills from him, which was 2,000 more than the marketplace, he didn't realize it. That's not the point. Where is he? I need to invite him to my group immediately. The old man ignored her and continued. He acted clumsily and changed the topic by buying a few weapons from me. Well, I am fond of his way of dealing with the situation. He just needs the experience to make it look smooth. But that can be fixed in the future. And the way he acted as if he has a brother. I almost laughed, since he surely didn't have one. The only thing that piqued my interest was his choice of weapons. He bought 2 spears and 1 sword. Grandfather. I need to look for him. I don't have time to listen to your rumbling. Where is he? Do you think you can find him? I just explained how he behaved earlier. He must have put careful thoughts in his plan, so do you think you can find him if I tell you now? Let it be. And you need time to cultivate someone under level 50, which is the threshold for the next rank. So, it's better to let him grow a bit before recruiting him. Besides, he has a weird mask and carefully fixed his hair, so I couldn't see it. Yeah, no point in searching for him. The old man shrugged. The female's body shook and finally calmed herself down. She still remembered what her father said regarding her grandfather. The old man before her might not be the strongest person in the country, but no one could match his eyes for talents in the country. If he told her that person was good, they needed to recruit that person as soon as possible. That was why she acted that rashly earlier. I am sorry for yelling. It's fine. Youngsters should have more energy than this old bone. The old man waved his hand, telling her it wasn't a problem before looking at his bank account. ID, 280,100,110,231. Name, Nart Aelaric. Balance, 1,098,143,700 zil. Look. I only lost 1,300 zils to find a talented man. You need to learn from me, ho-ho. The old man laughed naughtily, teasing his granddaughter. You are bullying me now. She pouted. With a single look at his ID, there was no need to say the woman's identity. But unlike how the media reported on the other side, she acted just like a child that wanted to be spoiled by her grandfather. Chapter 6, Harsh Truth. Theo was walking on a clean road, straight to his home, planning to sort out his thoughts. Although he bought 2 spears and 1 sword, he still needed to familiarize himself with the sword first. He believed that once he used another identity, it required him to be perfect to make sure no one managed to distinguish his disguise, including the weapon choice that would narrow the search by a lot. Besides, he had a plan to use it when he hunted alone. The sword could be used as a vanguard because of its range and offensive ability while he stayed behind his clone. Not only would he feel safer, but he also didn't have to form a group with other people, lest they betrayed him again. While walking down the road, he found 2 people among the crowd that seemed to be enjoying themselves as they were feeding each other ice cream. Theo wasn't jealous or anything. He simply thought they should at least feel bad about it for a few days. After all, the one he saw was the couple that betrayed him yesterday. Instead, what he found completely baffled him. To his dismay, he couldn't do anything in this city. The only time he could take his revenge would be when they entered the forest again. However, he heard something shocking when he was about to pass them. I am glad that we managed to finish our mission. Killing him and making it look like an accident was hard unless you had a perfect opportunity. Heaven must want him to die since it gave us the rock turtle. The female snorted and licked her ice cream. Indeed. I didn't know why that person wanted to kill him. In fact, I do feel that him being bullied in the school was a bit abnormal. Anyway, it was free money for us. The male nodded in agreement. Theo fell silent and halted his footsteps. Someone wanted me dead. And that person ordered these two to kill me. So it was not that they wanted to stay alive, they betrayed me, but for money. He just got the shock of his life. His original plan was to beat them up once and let them go since they only did it to survive, yet the shocking truth simply shattered the last kindness in his heart to them. Calm down. Calm down. Theo turned around and followed them even though he still carried the 3 weapons with him while repeatedly telling himself not to release his killing intent. I need to know who ordered them first. The two continued talking. I agree with you. Nothing beats easy money for people like us. The female chuckled. Still, do you know the reason for their feud? I thought something was fishy because he approached and bullied him first before anyone knew it. Who knows? He is dead now, so there is no point digging the truth that might antagonize him even further. Yeah. He had offended someone he shouldn't have. Still, did you see his face when we pushed him to the turtle? It was hilarious and somehow, I enjoyed seeing his face the moment he fell into despair. She chuckled. PFFD. Don't talk about it. The man covered his mouth while grinning. Theo, who followed them this whole time, finally stopped. No one would realize that his death was orchestrated. He recalled every single person who bullied him in the past. There were around 30 people from 3 different small groups in the school. He then selected those who attacked him without prior warning, narrowing it down to 10 people. Not satisfied, he chose another filter to screen them even further. He checked which of them actually hit him when he just started school and got 3 people. The first one was someone from another class. This person led a small gang in the school. To look cool, he picked the weakest one from another class, which coincidentally was his class. Unfortunately, only one person looked like a perfect target. It was him. Still, this one was nothing compared to the other 2 in terms of background. The second one was also from another class, specifically an upperclassman. People thought it was weird to see someone from the second year bullying a new kid, but none of them dared to raise their opinion. After all, the second one was the oldest son of a conglomerate in the country, Sin Raskaka. Theo put no thought about him and just let him do whatever he wanted until he was satisfied. It would end faster that way usually. The last one was a bit special because he was his classmate. Like the second one, his family was wealthy and had a vast influence over the country. However, such a person should have a good image in public, not bullying someone like this. Even though he might be able to cover everything up with his family influence, he shouldn't do something like that without reasons. Besides, he never met him in the past, let alone offended him. This created a big question in his mind. Who actually wanted him dead? Looking at the background, only the second and the third could hire his own classmates to kill him, so the case had narrowed down to 2 people. However, he had no ability to touch them yet unless he wanted to die before taking his revenge. This is killing me. I don't even understand the reasons they bully me. I shouldn't have brushed the matter off in the past. He let out a long sigh, regretting how uncaring his past self to all this matter. I only thought I could change everything after this storm passed, but it seems I need to find out now. Better late than never. Gathering his resolve all together, he decided to return to his house, not wanting to make a mess without any information. Everyone in the street might become more conscious about his outfit had he stayed any longer, so he returned to the dark alley that had nothing but gloominess. However, Theo already got his hope to pass this storm. He ignored everything and went back to his room. Taking off his disguise, he grabbed a paper lying down on his table and wrote something with a pen next to it. For now, I know I am targeted heavily for unknown reasons. Whether it's due to a petty reason or a serious one, I will ignore it first and do some investigation later. I need to know who targets me first. He wrote 4 names on the papers, the 2 rich people and the couple. It took him 3 minutes before circling the couple's name. Yeah. I will investigate these 2 first. School is tomorrow, so the investigation will start from school. I wonder what kind of face they will make when they see me again. Besides, the one who originally ordered them to kill me will question their mission since I am still alive. Not only can I know who's behind this, but I can also make their life miserable by making the employer think they lied to him to protect me. Not knowing why, but a smile appeared on his face. Obviously, he refrained himself from killing people, but he just didn't understand why he felt that he would kill those who deserved it. It might be due to his goal that he had sworn in his heart yesterday when he almost died. Either way, he took the step forward to fix this issue. He spent the rest of the day making a detailed plan on what he needed to do. The next day, as soon as he woke up, Theo noticed that he forgot to do something the moment the spear came into his vision. He didn't think about checking it yesterday, so he immediately took out his cylinder and scanned the small barcode in the spear's butt. Iron spear. Rank, normal. A normal spear made of iron, more durable than most of iron spears. He didn't find anything weird from it, and the spear was indeed registered in the database. An honest shop owner usually put the data about the spear inside the government's database, so it was easy to check whether they were genuine or not. Those unregistered were either something special that only rich people could enjoy or illegal weapons, and he should stay away from this type of weapon first since it would gather people's attention. While checking the spear, he scanned the other 2 and read the information on the blue screen that the cylinder projected. The cylinder itself was Skylink, a replacement for the smartphones. People believed that they should have something like a chip, so they invented it, only to regret it later. A few centuries ago, they indeed made such a thing, and everything turned sour not long after. The people grew restless because many organizations could get their information such as location, numbers and such, allowing the act of terror. Not long after that, terrorist organizations made an imitation and planted a small bomb in the chip, creating a mass panic when thousands of people's hands exploded simultaneously, so the World Union banned it, reducing the futuristic technology into something like this. Still, the scientist made a few models like a wristband, necklace and other accessories which had the same function, but he simply had no money to buy them. And he believed as long as he had one, nothing mattered. Shaking his head, he proceeded to read the information. Altrix spear. Rank, elite. A spear made of Altrix metal from metal mole. Capable of piercing rock turtle's defense without a problem. Red Gena sword. Rank, elite. A one-handed sword that focused on slashing one's opponent. It has incredible durability and sharpness. Good enough for elite weapons. It's average according to the database though. Theo nodded, satisfied. Chapter 7, Shifting the Blame. After checking the new weapons, Theo reached out his school uniform. It consisted of a white shirt and a white suit. On the edge of each sleeve was one golden stripe, symbolizing his current grade in school. However, the uniform had another use other than its appearance. It was true that the academy wanted to make the uniform appear elegant, so they could know which one took care of their clothes. But the white suit itself had a good material that could be compared to armor. Theo finished changing 2 minutes later, washed his face, and grabbed his bag on the table before going to the school. A few minutes later, Theo halted his step and raised his vision, looking at the majestic white building. The shape itself was the most basic block shape, but the size was fantastic. Spanning for over 200 meters with its 4 floors, this school was known as the biggest school in this small country. This building was used for their normal classes. It was capable of holding more than 5,000 students in all grades and the teachers together. Next to the white building was a gigantic hexagonal prism building. It was known as the gym, where people from any classes could go there to practice. The building itself could hold 10 classes at once, so there wasn't any shortage of places to go all out during the practice. On the opposite of the arena was a garden with another building in the center that rivaled the other 2 in size. Its most famous function was similar to that of the gym. However, in this place, you could fight against any other person to the death with the help of the training chamber. Most people visited this building in their spare time because of various reasons, but Theo had no interest in going there for the time being. He just sighed when he saw these 3 buildings again. They were great indeed, but it mostly benefited those at the top. However, he soon shook his head while shouting at himself inwardly. No, you idiot. Before you can fulfill my goal, You need to reach the top in this school first. After all, if I can't do it, I should just abandon that goal. Although his drive was a bit weak, he continued walking inside the school ground with a serious expression. As soon as he entered the building, he paid no heed on this bustling floor and headed straight to his class on the first floor, only to find two people appear in his vision. Yes, they were the couple. They widened their eyes and dropped their jaws as if they just saw a ghost. On the other hand, Theo did the opposite. He put on his warmest smile and greeted them while waving his hand. "Hello. How are you two? I am glad that you two are alive." Their faces turned pale. Not knowing why, but they could only see his smile was one that held a grudge. However, there was a possibility that Theo didn't know about their deal, so they thought an apology was enough to settle the matter of them pushing him to the turtle and called it a misunderstanding. "Hey, Theo." The man waved his hand, trying to act calm, but others could see that his hand was shaking. Theo nodded his head as if he didn't notice it and smiled. "Hey, Eric. What were you doing after escaping?" Eric looked away while scratching his head. "I tried my best. I informed the captain and asked for a rescue, but they didn't want to do anything. I am sorry." "It's fine." Theo brushed it off before turning to the female. "Hey, Shella. Are your feet fine? You fell back then, so." "Don't worry. They are as good as new now." Shella seemed to be able to cope with the situation well, as she didn't stutter or acted weird like Eric. "I apologize. I didn't mean to push you. It was all a misunderstanding. I regretted doing it. If I could redo that day, I would definitely not do that. It's fine. We all were desperate back then." Theo smiled, assuring her. However, he began burning up inside, wanting to kick these two on the faces. He thought, "You can even lie like this when you have tried to kill someone? Well, a good example. I guess I can try it when I kill you too. Thank you. We really regretted it. I couldn't even sleep for a whole day because of it." She showed how sad she was for doing something like that. It would work. If only Theo didn't see them flirting while eating ice cream. "That's right. I tried to ask the teacher for help as well, but they thought you were already dead. I will try to clarify this matter with the teacher for you." Eric tried to become a bit more reliable to see he had repented. Theo nodded with a smile. "Thank you guys. This is just a misunderstanding." Yes. This is only a misunderstanding." She repeatedly nodded in order to convince Theo and herself. "We're all good now." "Nice." Eric felt a bit of relief. At the very least, Theo's problem had been solved for the time being, and he could focus on dealing with his employer after this. He thought for a moment and asked, "How about we get another mission to show you our sincerity? We won't take anything in that hunt." "Really?" Theo looked happy but soon lowered his head with a sad expression. He began shaking and recalled what happened to him. "I don't feel like coming to the other side for the time being. I just have experienced some. Ugh, I don't want to recall it." The couple exchanged looks and nodded at each other. They grabbed his shoulder and tried to comfort him. "Don't worry. We can understand. We will help you with anything during this period. I hope you can become strong again." "Yes. You saved my life, so I will do my best to help you." Thank you. Theo gradually calmed down. He took another deep breath before realizing that the hall eventually became empty, indicating that the class would start soon. "Then, since everything is good now, let's enter the class. The bell will ring soon." Theo stretched his hand to the side, asking them to come in first. They saw his hands were still shaking and his smile looked forced. The two had no choice other than to enter the classroom while sweating, or Theo would suspect them. Seeing their reaction, Theo knew that the one who wanted him dead was in this room. The problem would be who it was. He halted his step right in front of the classroom and used those precious 2 seconds to scan the students whose faces looked up after seeing them. After marking them, he then proceeded to the classroom. He focused on those he marked earlier to see if any of them had a change of expression. To his surprise, there was one person that had a surprised expression. In that instant, something clicked in his mind. He had speculated 3 suspects, and it turned out the third person was the culprit. He was the second son of the conglomerate from Lang family, Lost Lang. He began to wonder why he wanted him dead. Bullying and killing were 2 separate things after all. And if it were known to the public, It would put a bad image on him and his family. Even if they tried to suppress the news, the public would still know and the stock price of their company would start to shake. Now, he can be considered as the useless successor. So, bullying can be covered up pretty easily as long as he keeps playing that role. It won't affect them that much as long as the first son, his brother, is good. But this matter is already beyond this point and I don't remember doing anything to antagonize him, so there is a possibility that his family requested him to do it. Theo thought while walking as if he wasn't aware of the situation. He needed to play the fool for a while until he had a perfect time to launch a counterattack. Still, the face on the couple was priceless, especially after Lost glared at them as if realizing he was tricked by this couple. He couldn't contain his smile and tried to hide it by looking down as though he had no mood as a bullied person. His seat was on the farthest back, far from attention, so it should be safe since everyone faced forward when the teacher started his lesson. He could keep glancing from time to see what Lost would do after knowing he was still alive. It turned out he didn't do anything. He only glared at the couple while trying to make it look normal. On the other hand, the couple was shaking. They didn't dare to look back because Lost would surely beat them after this. The only thing they should do was thinking how they could explain the whole situation to Lost while avoiding any form of punishment from him. It was pretty funny to watch this scene. Ding. Dong. Finally, the bell rang and the teacher came not long after that. The one coming in was a middle-aged man with glasses. His expression looked serious, but he still wore his lab coat instead of his teacher uniform. He took a glance at his students and sighed. It seems no one is absent. Why are you guys even this diligent? You should skip class and go kill some monsters. Yes, in that one glance, he calculated the number and remembered their face, but all in all, he was a pretty unique teacher. Anyway, let's start the class. Chapter 8, Gym. What I want to teach you is what to do in order to survive. First of all, I am saying this from my experience, so whether you accept it or not, it's your choice. And the most important thing of what I want to say today is to trust no one. The teacher narrowed his eyes as if he had some experience with it. Trusting someone is fine, but fully trusting someone, I don't think it's good unless you think it's fine to die for them. This is my principle. After all, even a best friend, who knows you for 10 years, can betray you at the last moment, so you should prepare for it even if it doesn't happen. You hear me? One of the students felt something wrong about it and asked. But the other teachers told us to trust our comrade and watch their back since they will do the same, allowing us to make good teamwork. Isn't this a contradiction with your statement? You can play your friend thingy, but for me, I still trust myself more than other people. That's how I survived on the other side for 3 decades before retiring here. Of course, I don't mean to make other teachers look bad and I partly agree with them. I want you to keep thinking about what will happen if the worst situation occurs before your eyes. If you have that question answered, you can trust your teammate because with or without them, you can survive just fine. Theo couldn't help but look at this teacher with admiration. He might not agree with this statement if it were the past him. But the timing was just that perfect, and he couldn't help but nod. That's my morning advice. Now, let's continue our boring lesson again, starting from the monsters around our Art Beats castle. The teacher then began the real lecture about the appearance of monsters, their weaknesses, and other things they needed to know to kill those monsters. Theo looked down at his wooden desk. On the top corner, he found a power button and pushed it. Soon the display screen appeared on his table like a normal computer. He opened the usual application to take a note for the lecture. It was a kind of having a more advanced iPad, so taking notes became so easy, increasing the desire for the students to make a note in lecture. It took him 2 hours before the lesson ended. Oh, right. You are going to have the practical exams soon. I still don't know the exact date, but I believe it's within 2 weeks. I will inform you of the details later. And don't forget to eat since you will have physical training after this. That's all. Have a good day. The teacher lazily walked to the door. Before leaving, he took another look at the class. There were some who seemed to understand today's advice, so he was satisfied with it. As soon as the break started, Lost headed straight to Theo with fierce eyes. Behind him was the couple with a scared expression. I will take care of you again during the practice. He made a sinister smile. Theo narrowed his eyes but didn't answer him like he usually did. He always used this kind of chance to bully him, so it would be faster to ignore him. Besides, he didn't plan to take on the beating easily this time. He gained a bit more confidence with his new power. Although he didn't plan to show his new skill this time, he still wanted to fight this guy earnestly to see how he could improve himself. After gaining the blessing of the god of mischief, he had gained the desire to get stronger without being scared of others' suppressions. And he would surely use them to his own advantage. Seeing that Theo remained silent, Lost snorted and took the couple with him. I will use you to get stronger. Even if you are a waste, your strength is still a real deal, so let me see how this so-called young master fights. Theo laughed inwardly, getting excited. Sending the note he took earlier to his device, he turned off the computer and rose from his seat, heading to the canteen. Although he had more money, he picked the same menu. It was one of the cheapest menus on the list and considered as one of the healthiest, so there was no way he would leave it alone. As expected, no one accompanied him during lunch. Theo had no friends, whether in this school or society, so he'd been alone after he lost his only family, his brother. After eating, he looked around the canteen. It could hold more than 3,000 people at once, so there were many empty spots. He shook his head and decided to return to his class, waiting for the time for their physical training class. As expected, Lost was waiting for him in the classroom to make sure that he didn't run away. I wonder what is his problem. Theo furrowed his eyebrows before finding the same couple with some bruises on their faces. It seemed they took quite a beating from him, which made him feel better. It was nothing compared to them betraying him. The desire to come to them and ask for their condition began swelling up in his heart, but he restrained that feeling since Lost was here. The bell rang again. It was time to go to the gym. Lost came to him and said coldly, "Come." The others who saw Lost force Theo to come with him could only shake their heads helplessly, knowing it would be another beating for him today. Did they want to save him? Yes. Did they do it? None of them dared. Theo didn't put much thought into it, only remembering them in his heart and planning to treat them the same way. He followed Lost to the gym without saying anything. Who is the instructor again? Theo suddenly tried to remember the schedule of the instructor. They were trained by 3 different instructors for combat, survival, and physical fitness, and he forgot which one they took today. Lost could beat him in combat, make him fail in survival, and overwhelm him in physical fitness, so it was no different which type it was, making him forget what he was going to take today. When he arrived at the gym, they entered the place with a symbol of 2 swords clashing with each other, meaning that they were in a combat lesson. Theo opened his locker and changed into the combat clothes. It had a similar style with the uniform but with a bit tighter, so it didn't hinder one's movement. Since Lost had yet to finish changing, he went ahead, walking toward the place where they would practice. Yes, inside the large building on the left of the main building was a huge field that had been separated into 3 sections. The first section contained all gym equipment that would improve their physical abilities. The second section had a giant realistic hologram that could replicate a certain environment. And on the third section, where he currently stood, filled with only empty fields. There were only markings here and there, showing the arena they usually use to fight. It seemed there were 2 other classes having the same classes as them, so they shared this huge field together. The principal believed that observing other practices could stimulate their potential. Besides, the third-year students could act as a mentor as well. However, when he arrived at the field, he also saw someone arriving from another door next to him. She was the same person who came to that blacksmith and asked for Theo's identity. However, neither of them recognized each other despite one trying to flee and the other one trying to discover the other's identity. The one who came out was Aaliyah Aelaric, the student council president. She was known as a warm person that everybody loved. Many people thought that her warm personality came from her blessing, which came from another god, known as God of Fortitude. She put on a warm smile and waved her hand to Theo beside him. Good afternoon. If I am not wrong, the other class that will use this field is 2B and 1A, right? Which grade are you in? Theo looked at this stunning female and bowed politely without a change of expression. There wasn't a single thought that appeared in his head other than her being an upperclassman. I am a first-grade student. Oh. Good. I hope you work hard in this school. After nodding her head, she turned back to her classmate on the field and ran toward them. Seeing her leaving, Theo nodded and went toward the field for his class. In the middle of the field, he found someone who was supposed to be their instructor. It was a middle-aged man with a muscular body. He looked like a bodybuilder with that bulging muscle, but Theo could feel that those arms and legs contained powerful strength within it. "Oh, you are the first one to come here." The middle-aged man noticed Theo and asked him to come. "Teacher." Theo bowed politely. "Normally, people will arrive within another 15 minutes, so what are you planning to do?" "I." Before he could speak, a series of comments echoed in his ears as the people from his class arrived and saw the people in the field next to them. "Look! There is the student council president, Aaliyah Aelaric. She is so beautiful." "Right. She is. Also powerful. She is also kind to everyone." 3 people followed by Lost appeared on the field. Theo met Lost's eyes, and again, they were interrupted by the comment that had changed. "Look at the other field, Isn't he the famous second year that is known as the Guardian?" One of them commented out loud, admiring his idol. Because of this, Lost ignored them and made his way toward the instructor. "Instructor. I wish for permission to fight this guy." The reason why they came this early was to have their own fight before the class started. After all, the moment the class started, there was only a low possibility that they would get paired up to fight. Even Lost couldn't change the instructor's decision at this point. "Now I see why you are coming here this early." The middle-aged man laughed before nodding his head. "Yes, you, young men, need to have fire in your heart to a duel like this. Alright, I approve of this spar. Pick your weapon there and come here. I will supervise this fight." Lost's sinister smile appeared again. Unbeknownst to him, Theo also made a small smile. Chapter 9, Counterattack. "Pick your weapon." Hearing the instructor's command, they both went to the side of the field where a few baskets lined up, each holding at least 10 wooden weapons that came in various types and sizes. Lost had his own weapon of choice and grabbed a 5-foot-long sword, while Theo picked a similar spear as the one he bought 2 days ago. These two gradually became the center of attention, even among the second and third-year students, since they didn't have anything to do just yet. "Aaliyah, 2 people are fighting beside us. Are you going to stop them?" A pink-haired girl walked to Aaliyah while asking. Her tone was playful, as if she enjoyed the sight. Aaliyah glanced at her with a smile. "Of course not. The instructor here is related to the military. Because of our government policy, it's better not to get involved with the military even if you have a deep relationship with some people in the government or military. You know, our country's current president." "Haha, indeed. Even your family can't do anything, right?" "Stopping the instructor. No, but stopping the participants. I can." Aaliyah smiled mysteriously and stared at Lost. "Well, isn't this a familiar face? What is his name again?" "He is Lost Lang, Lang family's second son." "And who is the person going to fight him?" She furrowed her eyebrows when looking at Theo. He didn't seem to be as strong as Lost. Yet, his face revealed no emotion, as if he planned to beat him. "Who is he?" "I don't know. Is this bullying?" "You tell me." "But the other guy seems raring to fight." "Well, the instructor will stop them if it goes beyond the boundary." "Fair enough. I will still watch it though. Can't have someone to be injured in front of me." "Haha. That sounds like you." At the same time, on the opposite court, a gray-haired young man was staring at Theo mysteriously. His stare was deep in thought, while his serious expression made people unable to approach him. If Theo actually looked at his way, he would recognize this person. He was none other than the second-year student who bullied him, Sin Raskaka. Sin glanced back and forth between Theo and Lost while frowning. Meanwhile, Theo and Lost walked inside the arena, ignoring all the people around them. The instructor, whose name was Rictus, took another look at their expression to see if they were ready to fight or not. "No killing, no inflicting permanent harm, and no skills. I have the right to stop the match if I deem it's too dangerous to go on. The fight will end if one side admits defeat or knock out your opponent. If you don't have a question, you may start." The two nodded, but Lost couldn't contain his smile. Knowing Lost's personal status, Rictus kept an eye on him, not allowing a person like him to do something excessive to a normal student like Theo. After all, it would be terrible for Theo's family, while the other party could simply afford some remuneration and called it a day. "Let me show you what it means to be strong." Lost made a sinister smile and jumped forward, slashing his sword down. Theo raised his stance and received the blow with the tip of his spear before letting it slide a bit to pull Lost's toward him. His spear's blade had a diamond shape, so when it got stuck at the latter half, he used all his strength to push the sword to the side. Lost widened his eyes in surprise. He didn't remember Theo had this kind of strength. Not wanting to lose to him, he put more strength in his grasp, so he didn't lose his sword, resulting in his sword getting locked on the ground with Theo's spear. With the spear's butt pointing upward, Theo used his offhand to slam Lost's head with its handle. As expected from a wealthy family, even though he was known as a lecher or something, he still had a good foundation after getting trained by many tutors. Before the spear reached him, he sent a powerful kick toward Theo's stomach. TCH. Theo realized that he couldn't take advantage of his unknown strength to defeat Lost, so he lowered his spear even more, receiving the kick with the spear's handle. The kick was more powerful than he imagined, blowing him several feet away. He landed on the floor with a stable posture and spun his spear to reset his grip. Phew. Taking a deep breath, Theo observed Lost's movement and thought, "Haze. This is not going to work. Speed, strength, and technique. I am inferior to him in all aspects, so how can I win this time? Even the change of my strength was unable to defeat him. He looks foolish, but it doesn't mean he can't think. I need to come up with another pattern then." As he predicted, Lost's expression turned serious after noticing Theo's drastic change. The couple told him that he was targeted by a rock turtle 2 days ago, but the change of his strength was too abnormal. Did he kill the rock turtle, resulting in him leveling up several times? Or was there an expert that happened to pass by, taught him something, and even helped him level up during the past 2 days? Lost thought. After staring at each other for 5 seconds, Theo continued the fight by jumping forward. He closed their distance in a few steps and thrust his spear toward Lost's chest. Lost tried to stop the attack with a single swing from below. Theo smiled as he had predicted his movement. Lost was a prideful man, so Theo bet that he wouldn't dodge the attack coming from him. Instead, he would stop the attack, showing the difference of strength. And this character of him worked perfectly with what Theo had in mind. What Lost didn't realize was the slight adjustment in Theo's grip. Unlike the previous one, Theo held the spear slightly toward the tip of the spear's blade. As soon as he saw the incoming swing, he halted his step. The shorter reach prevented Lost's sword from hitting his spear. Theo utilized this chance by changing the grip to normal and thrust his spear once again, hitting Lost's on the back of his right palm. Ah! Lost obviously couldn't accept that Theo hit him. His pride seemed to be bigger than Theo expected because he didn't shout something stupid. Instead, he used that anger to bear the pain as his other hand grabbed the sword and swung it at Theo's left forearm. Theo let out a groan as the two leapt back. Lost was clenching his fist and loosening it a few times to get the feeling of his hand again, but Theo was a bit worse. He took a few deep breaths while holding his spear high. However, everyone could see that his offhand was shaking. "Ugh, that must be hurt," the female beside Aaliyah commented. Although the bruise had yet to appear, she could already imagine what kind of pain Theo had to endure with that shaking hand alone. "Are you not going to stop them?" From his expression alone, that Lang family scion will surely hit him a couple of times before the instructor can stop him. Aaliyah had an internal conflict with herself, wondering whether she should stop the match here. As long as she asked Lost or Theo to step down, they would surely give her face and end the match. However, Theo's expression remained strong. There was no way that kind of injury would stop him. Does he have some kind of grudge against Lang family or Lost Lang? To have this strong determination while being at a disadvantage. He might be able to do something great even if his achievement is limited in the future. This was Ailey's honest thought when she observed Theo's movement. Although he wasn't particularly strong, especially when she found the lack of proper training in his way of handling the spear, she knew that if he had a great teacher, he might be able to reach a bigger step in the future. Still, whether he was someone who was capable or not couldn't be seen in just one moment. She wasn't her grandfather after all. And she had another person in mind that her grandfather told her. Meanwhile, Sin seemed to have a different opinion than her, albeit he kept it for himself. He could see something behind that shaking. He himself wore a shield because his role in a party mainly was guarding the team. Meeting injured teams, perfectly fine teams, or even a team who had fallen into despair, he had protected them all. That was why he could see that Theo's hand might be hurt, but it was still usable like Lost's. However, Lost obviously didn't share his opinion. With how hurt Theo appeared to be, he smirked and began his ruthless attacks. As long as he could knock off that spear from Theo's hand, he should be able to give 3 powerful blows before the instructor could stop the match. It should be fine for the time being. Hence, his attacks mostly aimed at his spear and his main hand. Theo gritted his teeth and his face gradually turned desperate. This was what Lost wanted to see. His attacks became even more ruthless. A ruthless attack also meant another thing. It meant that the swing was wider to pack up more power. In his desperate moment, Theo pushed his spear upward with his offhand, allowing him to make a full thrust with only his main hand. This technique boosted the speed of his thrust. In other words, this was all or nothing thrust. Lost, who saw this movement, made a sinister smile as he changed the direction of his swing while saying, "Do you think I didn't anticipate this?" The female beside Aaliyah closed her eyes, knowing that Theo had lost, while Aaliyah was about to move to stop the match. To everyone's surprise, when his spear was about to get hit by the sword, Lost widened his eyes as a sharp pain spread all over his abdomen. He lowered his vision and found that he was hit by Theo's supposed broken hand. "Did you?" Theo smiled as if everything went according to his plan. And it was also the sign of counterattack. Chapter 10, Trickeries. Gah! Theo didn't give him a chance to recover and immediately struck Lost's head with the spear he had thrust earlier for a fake. Lost gritted his teeth and slashed down his sword, not allowing the attack to continue. However, Theo had seen it and shifted his body. Using the momentum from earlier, the spear bounced back from the face toward the hand, hitting it in order to knock the sword off his hand. Lost's eyes brightened as he dropped his sword only to be caught by his other hand. At the same time, he grabbed the spear's handle with that newly free hand. Lost's strength was far stronger than Theo's, so he planned to utilize it to regain the ground. The plan was easily visible from Theo's point of view. He used Lost's hand to make him come closer while sending a kick toward his chest. Unfortunately, the sword came into his way, blocking the kick. Seeing that they couldn't move any more from this stance, they decided to retreat once to get a stable position to launch another attack. During this exchange, many people were impressed. The female beside Aaliyah couldn't help but praise Theo's tenacity as well. This guy. It's obvious that his strength can't be compared to that of Lost, but he's fighting him on equal ground. Indeed. There are 3 things that can defeat a stronger opponent. The first is experience. From what I can see, these two seem to have the same level of experience. Lost aside, the guy must have gone to the other side to hunt monsters so many times. Aaliyah narrowed her eyes, observing Theo, who now piqued her interest. His family problem, I think? It's not that rare for someone to go to the other side for the sake of money. She shrugged. Yes. Then it connects to the second thing, which is control. The more you fight and the more you practice, the better your control or mastery over your technique and form. But I believe Lost has this advantage. I mean, his family must have hired tutors. Although he is known as a useless son compared to the first son, there is no way that the Lang family will have their own sons to be that useless. Agreed. The third reason is the real reason why the other guy can fight him on equal ground. It's trickery. Even Aaliyah couldn't help but sigh when she said this. You look like you have an experience with this kind of thing. Trickery, was it? Ellen, you know why assassins are dangerous. Aaliyah glanced at her. Ellen thought for a moment and answered. Isn't it because they are hiding and we won't know when they are going to appear? Yes. But above all, they will resort to anything that allows them to win. After all, my grandfather once gave me the best lesson about this. Fighting is not about the process. It's about the result. Do whatever you can to kill your enemies because no matter what kind of explanation you have, no one will hear it from a dead man. She sighed. As much as I want to rebuke him, I really can't. Hee, you are always righteous. Righteous? Not really. She shook her head mysteriously. Fine, fine. Ellen shrugged. Meanwhile, the instructor, Rictus, was impressed by Theo's movement and thought. This guy faked his offhand to strike at his opponent. He is quite talented himself, but the problem will be lost. I wonder why he wanted to fight this guy. It seems this situation requires me to investigate the problem. The same as him, Lost also had a different opinion of Theo. He never thought that there was a drastic change right after he tried to kill him. Although the rock turtle was not a part of his plan, Theo should have died from that monster. Yet, not only did he return stronger, but he also began relying on trickeries. His expression grew colder the more he thought about Theo's changes. He took a deep breath and stabilized his breathing before charging at him to test his new plan. Theo realized that Lost's movement was somehow different from his normal form. Lost thrust his sword toward Theo. With that small pointed blade, it was hard for Theo to stop it with his handle alone. At the very least, his current skill didn't allow him to do such a precise movement. Instead of taking it head-on, Theo decided to jump to the left, avoiding the strike. As if he had predicted this movement, Lost stomped the ground to regain his balance before swinging his sword toward Theo. Theo lost his form due to prior movement. He pushed his spear's butt to hit the floor, gaining the ground to stop Lost's swing entirely. Even so, his strength wasn't enough. He was pushed to the side. Not wanting to lose, Theo shrank his every step and made a 360-degree turn and used that momentum to strike Lost in the head, only to find itself slightly lower due to his off-balance stance. Despite missing the original target, this movement allowed him to create enough strength that could rival Lost's. Bang! The sound of collision between Theo's spear and Lost's sword echoed in the gym. Lost clenched his teeth as he was blown away by that strike. He took another look at Theo, who looked down on him. His pride took more hits than his body. He just couldn't accept that the useless Theo, who couldn't even hit him before, was currently fighting him on equal ground. There would be many rumors spreading about this unprecedented sight. When his family realized this, he would surely become the useless son they always thought. That was what Lost didn't want to see. He took another deep breath to calm his mind. If he got too fired up, the new Theo would surely take a chance to land another hit on him. Is he really that idiot Theo? He never fought back before, and now I need to deal with him seriously? Something must have happened from that incident. That idiotic couple, I will beat them after this. Still, I can't afford to lose this match. I almost reached level 50 and became an elite rank while this bastard's level was 7 previously. I will become a laughing stock if I lose this spar. When he fell into deep thought, Theo closed their distance again and thrust his spear. Lost had sensed him and retreated one step back. As much as he wanted to show their difference in strength, winning took priority. This one step should never cross in Theo's mind, so he decided to pull this stunt to create an opening. And just like he predicted, Theo's left side was open. Suddenly, Theo stretched his left hand to block the attack, but Lost took advantage of it and hit the exact spot where he struck him earlier. Ah! Theo clenched his teeth, enduring the pain. He had endured something more painful than this when the rock turtle almost killed him. There was no way he would give up when the chance had presented itself before him. However, everything was futile. The moment that pain froze him for a split second, Lost's sword had moved toward another position, hitting him on the left shoulder and blowing him away. Rolling on the ground, Theo launched himself to the air with his right hand and stabilized his stance as soon as he landed on the floor. There was no way Lost would miss this chance. Before Theo could do anything, he charged toward him, planning to keep him unstable. Theo smirked and threw a small wooden cylinder along with its splinters. Everyone watching this had their jaw drop. They just noticed that the spear's butt had already been crushed by something. Theo must have broken it with his own hand. Only some realized when he did all this. It was in the 360-degree turn he performed earlier. When the spear was hidden behind his body, it was the perfect time to do that without having Lost knowing. Now that they thought about it, that was also the reason why Theo's spear went toward Lost's shoulder instead of his head. Because of those fragments, Lost had no choice other than to cover his eyes with his offhand, giving an opportunity for Theo's thrust. Even with all this, Lost was still strong. He managed to block that thrust with his sword so the spear didn't hit his body directly. Not wanting to end the attack as a failure, Theo pulled back his spear and kicked Lost on the chest, blowing him several feet away. You bastard. Lost couldn't take it anymore. Theo's trickery had been chipping away his patience. I have it enough. His wooden sword glowed, and he swung it down, releasing 3 blue lights that flew toward Theo from 3 different directions. Theo widened his eyes and thought about what he needed to do to escape this attack. He didn't have time to dodge, and even if he had, he would be injured since he would take 1 or 2 attacks during the process. The only escape route would be his clone. He needed to use it and had those 3 strikes hit his clone instead of him. As a result, Lost would also know that he had another skill. There was no doubt that the investigation would follow. In order to fool him, allowing him to realize that only his strength had grown, he needed to hide this one. As expected, taking this attack is the only way if I don't want to mess with my overall plan. He gritted his teeth and braced himself as the 3 attacks hit. Boom. Chapter 11 Aftermath. Theo widened his eyes when he saw a shadow appear in front of him right before he used his clone to take the hit. Boom. The field filled with smoke as all people wondered what happened to Theo. No one from the upperclassmen knew Theo's real strength. Even someone like Aaliyah could only roughly calculate his strength, so there was no telling if he had the skill to block this attack. Yet, when the smoke was about to be cleared, there were 4 shadows inside the smoke and Theo was obviously one of them as he had retracted his clone before the smoke disappeared. However, the one in front of him, who took all the attacks, was not the instructor or even Aaliyah. Instead, it was the second year, one of Theo's bullies, Sin Raskaka. His left hand was holding a kind of sword's handle that seemed to produce a translucent yellow light, forming a 5-foot length and 2-fold wide rectangular shield. To his left was the instructor. He looked at Sin with amazement as he could react faster than him. To his right was Aaliyah. Instead of glaring at the one who broke the rule, she was even more interested in Theo. From what she understood, Theo was far weaker than Lost, yet his trick allowed him to fight him on equal ground. However, this raised another concern in her heart as she couldn't help but say, "You are impressive, but I am afraid that you will have trouble from now on." Theo nodded politely, not answering her. Aaliyah came from a wealthy family, the same as Lost. If he said his purpose to her, he was afraid that the word would reach Lost's ears or, even worse, his family. It would become even more troublesome than the current situation. Well, good luck. It's not like I can help everyone. She let out a long sigh. Theo then turned to Sin, wondering the reason Sin helped him. Why? This guy often bullied me. Although, at this point, I know that he and Lost are bullying me due to a certain reason, I still don't understand why he protects me. Theo frowned but still thanked him. Senior, thank you for protecting me. Sin turned around and looked down at him. You are simply too weak. Theo understood that as well, but this was the first time he took one step forward, so he felt a bit offended when someone told him off like that. Taking a deep breath, he replied, "Yes. I am aware." After hearing his answer, Sin raised his shield as the yellow light disappeared, turning it into a palm-sized block. Lost's expression told him that he realized his mistake and decided to return to his own field. Meanwhile, the instructor furrowed his eyebrows and said, "Lost Lang. According to the academy rule, you are suspended for 3 days. Do you want to say something?" Lost clenched his teeth. He knew that even with connection, it was hard to bail him out in this situation as long as the current country's president had yet to change. He even punished his own son mercilessly, let alone a second generation like him. His eyes were everywhere, so the moment he noticed this matter, it would surely blow up. Even if his Lang family tried to cover the media, it was impossible. Fighting here would prove to be more detrimental to him, and it would even reach his family's ears. The only escape for him was Theo's change. As much as he hated it, he admitted his mistake while shaking his head. "No, I do not. I accept the punishment." He politely bowed to the instructor and turned around. Theo couldn't contain his smile when he saw Lost leaving the gym. Not only did I gain so much in this battle, but I could also see that Lost gets suspended. He may have the information about the change of my strength, but he doesn't know that I have a God blessing. They will become more curious, but at the same time, I can do much more things since they won't interfere like how they used to be. God of Mischief likes how you played with the situation. Theo took a deep breath before thanking the instructor. "Thank you for standing up for me, instructor." Rictus patted Theo's shoulder while smiling. "As long as you are in the school ground, I doubt they will do anything, but your action is your responsibility. I won't do anything to help you outside the school." "I understand. Go to the medical office and get your treatment before coming to my class." "Yes. I will do so." When he was about to walk, his shoulder was grabbed by Aaliyah. The two guys turned to her with a confused expression. "My friend has a healing ability. I will call her to treat you." She smiled, looked back and waved her hand to her friend. It turned out that the friend beside her this whole time was the healer. Her friend could only facepalm before coming to her. She had pink hair that tied into a pigtail. "Sit down first. It will only take a minute." "Thank you very much." Theo politely bowed to her and Aaliyah. "Don't mind it. I am just doing it because of this good girl." She pointed her finger at Aaliyah before placing her right hand on the injured hand. Her hand radiated a green light. The light wasn't too bright and also wasn't too dim, but more importantly, Theo could feel energy rushing to his injured hand as if 1,000 ants were swarming that area. He endured the feeling without a single groan. "Still, you are impressive, little guy. To think you can defeat Lost Lang, Who is supposed to be one of the strongest in the first year? I was lucky. He underestimated me, leaving all those openings for someone like me to exploit. He replied humbly. Besides, this was just a physical spar. If the skills were involved, I would have lost. Aaliyah became even more interested in Theo. She wanted to see the strength of the man that recognized all this and even used all kinds of tricks. In any case, you have offended the Lang family. They will surely not like it. Aaliyah warned him again. I know. Thank you for your concern. Aaliyah glanced at her friend, who seemed to have finished treating him, and turned around. All right. We are going back. The pink-haired girl made a weird smile and rose from the floor. I am going then. Yes. Thank you for treating me. Theo thanked her again and watched them until they were on the other field. He then looked at the instructor, wondering what he had to say. You have potential, but don't be arrogant. I am your instructor, not your parents, so you will need to deal with whatever comes your way. Since your wound has recovered, you can wait until your friends come. Theo nodded. I will be washing my face first. Rictus only waved his hand, telling him to go. Theo walked to the bathroom in the gym to wash his face. After that, he looked at himself in the mirror, feeling a bit exhausted. The adrenaline from earlier had completely gone as his hands began shaking. Lost's anger will surely go to the couple first, and there is a possibility that those two will come to kill me again. Well, I love technology nowadays. Due to how easy you can take video and upload it on the internet, it's hard for someone to do bad things openly. As for bullying, this is why I hate humanity. I will do anything to reach my goal even if I need to use the method I hate. Theo narrowed his eyes and fell into deep thought. The mystery remains. Why does Lang family target me? From how Lost reacted, it wasn't his will to bully me. The only possibility was his family. The problem is what they want from me. I have nothing. His apartment was cheap and had nothing valuable. His strength was at the bottom of society until recently. And no one had yet to realize his current blessing. That leaves my parents and my brother. However, my parents passed away when I was a kid, and my brother left me for some reason and never came back despite promising me. Wait a minute. Theo suddenly remembered one weird thing that his brother gave to him before he disappeared. It was a pocket watch. He told him to take the watch with him to meet someone if he was in a situation with no way out. He would know the way as soon as he opened it. Do they want the pocket watch? I am dying to open it, but it's better to believe in Big Brother. Theo furrowed his eyebrows. Another reason will be the grudge between them and my brother, but I don't have a memory of him offending such a family. In other words, I think it's best to assume the reason is the pocket watch. All the more reason why I shouldn't hand it to them. Theo scratched the back of his head. Things are going to be complicated soon. Besides, why was the one bullying me protecting me? Did he want my pocket watch too? Either way, I will need to deal with all those eventually. Let's take one step at a time. Shaking his head one more time to restore his focus to the training, he left the toilet, ready for the training. There were already around 20 people standing on the field while the others kept coming. Noticing his gaze, the instructor turned to him and nodded, signaling him to gather around him. Theo blended in and waited for the others to come. After 2 more minutes, the instructor finally began the class. All right. For today, you will. Chapter 12, Luring Out. For fighting on the other side, Hidden Haven, you need strength or you will die. Today, I will be teaching you. Rictus began his lesson. He didn't teach them many things other than basic moves, such as swinging, thrusting, and such, so Theo felt a bit disappointed. At the same time, there was another thing that amused him. 2 people were glaring at him during the class. Those 2 were none other than the couple, Eric and Shella. Theo ignored them in contempt, completed the training, and slipped from the class as soon as it finished. He changed back to his uniform and quickly left the school. Theo furrowed his eyebrows when he kept sensing 2 people not far from him. The couple? Are they tailing me? It must be Lost's instruction. Since Lost is not here, they will only be watching me. I have a thing to settle with them, so should I lure them out? After considering a few things, his lips curved as he got a nice plan for this. He glanced at his side, finding a junction not far from him. As if he didn't notice them, Theo turned left. The 2 suddenly felt something was wrong. Theo's apartment shouldn't be that way. Did he realize? Eric muttered while running as fast as possible to check the junction. Luckily, Theo was still there, walking nonchalantly. Eric and Shella let out a sigh of relief and kept following him. Little did they know, another person also tailed them. And he turned out to be the same Theo as the one walking in front. With that single turn, Theo used his clone to replace him while he hid in another corner. In other words, what they followed was his clone. After another junction, the clone turned right, disappearing from their sight again. These two decided to take their time since Theo hadn't noticed them yet, but it became their mistake as the real Theo had undone his own clone as he walked in the opposite direction of those two while smiling. Fools. Public holiday is in 2 days. I should lure them out and… Hee. He couldn't contain his smile, believing that this problem would be solved within 2 days. As soon as he reached his room, he changed his uniform to normal clothes and remembered the shield that Sin had. To have a shield that can be retracted like that is really a convenient thing. It's the only thing that can bypass the rule of the school. I will buy one when I get richer. He let out a sigh. Although he was jealous of such a thing and wanted one for his spear, he turned that jealousy into determination. Anyway, I've learned a lot in that battle against Lost. No wonder he is a scion of a big family. Theo grabbed his spear and thought something innovative. He was on edge this whole time, so he didn't think of it earlier. It turned out that he missed an opportunity to train himself yesterday. He summoned his clone and had him grab the sword he bought 2 days ago. Theo controlled the clone to swing his sword a few times. The swings completely followed what he instructed. In fact, it was like multitasking. When he fought against the turtle or fooled the couple, it didn't require full control since all it took was a simple movement like walking or running straight. However, Theo realized that he could use the clone in a fight and made his enemy feel like taking 2 Theos at the same time. Besides, I can also train myself with this. It may follow my will, but I can use him to get used to a technique or increase my sword mastery. Even if it weren't like a real fight, I would have grown accustomed to swinging and thrusting the sword. Theo smiled. Still, I can't really feel anything with my clone, so I should be the one using a sword. He exchanged the weapon with his clone and held the sword. Unlike his spear, he felt that the center of gravity was somewhere else, considering that he wielded the sword with one hand while the spear with 2 hands. He looked up a few free basic swordsmanship books to get used to the basic form like swinging, thrusting, or even standing still, aka stances. The clone raised the spear, pointing it at Theo. The latter retreated 1 step back before swinging the sword once. He felt the strain when he tried to stop the sword. The sword's weight was slightly heavier than the spear and he needed to wield it with 1 hand, so it was normal for Theo to have difficulty at first. This will take a while, he muttered, but on his face blossomed a smile. Theo's sword training began. The clicking sounds kept coming out of his room, and the other tenants started knocking on his door because they were getting bothered by it. After 2 hours of constant complaints, Theo sighed. It seems I really need to get another place where I can train without interruption. I can use a park or something. But I don't want to let someone see my skill. I should try to get some money for a better place either on the public holiday or on the weekend. He used his pillow as a punching bag instead. Only the body of the sword hit the pillow so that the blade wouldn't damage it. After that, he rested his body and prepared to start his plan tomorrow. When he came to the school, Eric and Shella came to him. They furrowed their eyebrows with a bit of hesitation that even Theo could see in their gaze. Theo, do you have any plans for the public holiday? Shella's tone was calm to ensure that Theo never noticed their intention. After all, it would become a disaster if she let Eric do all this. Yes. I am going to the other side again to hunt some monsters. As you know, I can't afford my rent this month if I don't go there. He sighed. Really? Shella put a smile on her face and grabbed Theo's hand. Can I join you again? I want to repay you for what I have done. Please, let me prove it to you. In her heart, all this was just her plan. She never had the intention to join Theo's party. Her aim was to ascertain whether yesterday, Theo realized the ones following him were them or not. As much as I want to. I think I will go by myself this time. Theo looked down with a pained look as if he hadn't recovered from what happened last week. Is that so? Such a shame. But I won't give up. I will surely obtain your forgiveness and trust again. I'm sorry. Theo had a guilty expression, feeling bad that he couldn't do it with them. It's fine, it's fine. Time will allow your wounded heart to recover. At that time, I will surely make it up for you. Shella gently assured Theo. Theo forced a smile and nodded. Yes. I will surely be fine after a while. Then, we will be waiting for your invitation next time. Shella and Eric then left him alone after getting their objective. Since Lost ordered them to observe Theo while he was away and get rid of him if possible, they were kind of desperate to kill Theo because of the implication they received just by him staying alive. This was the best chance to make up for their mistake last time. Even though Theo managed to fight Lost on equal ground, they thought he was lucky and fought him without skill. Knowing that he only had one skill, Pierce, they should be able to trap him by using another monster before killing him from behind. Unknowingly, Theo had been setting layers of traps to lure them out of this world. This way, he should be able to kill them on the other side without anyone knowing. He just made a little smile, not wanting to be confident that everything would go according to his way. Anyway, I will need to get used to my sword first. It will increase my chance of success. He smiled and rose from his seat to go home. The next day, Theo woke up in the morning and prepared himself for the big day. He reached the sword and hung it on his waist before grabbing his spear. His prediction was that the two would follow him silently on the other side. Even if he brought the sword, they would only think that it was a secondary weapon for backup. After checking one more time, he smirked and opened his apartment door, heading straight toward the other side, which people called Hidden Haven. Yep. Everything is ready now. It's time to lure the rabbits out of their hole. Chapter 13, Fools. In the portal, Theo's figure appeared out of thin air, proving that he just got teleported to the other side. Unlike the white and clean city, he ended up seeing the dark but futuristic city. And he had no specific location to choose as his destination. Unfortunately, there wasn't a satellite too, so they couldn't really make a complete map for this place, only the places they had discovered before. They had tried it a few times, but all of them got brutally destroyed by the monsters in this world, not letting the satellite even pass the stratosphere. Still, there were some airplanes and drones to scout around, but there were only a few places that they could go with those since they would soon be swarmed by flying monsters. The cost was also a lot, so there was no way Theo could take advantage of it with his current pocket even if they were available. I don't have any specific place I want to go, so that I will go south this time. The monsters around here are low leveled. I can use them to get used to my weapon and see how strong I've become. After that, I will go a bit deeper. Theo formulated his today's plan in his mind. Tightening his backpack, he walked down the platform and headed straight to the south gate. Eric and Shella had been waiting for him. As soon as they saw Theo coming out of the portal, they exchanged looks, nodded at each other and followed Theo from behind. Although Theo might have sensed them yesterday, he seemed to not know that they were the ones tailing him after Shella checked him in the class. They could just tell him that it was all misunderstanding, and they were worried about him before catching him off guard. It was supposed to be a perfect plan. Assuming Theo didn't know anything. Sensing their presence, Theo kept looking forward, acting as if he never felt them. Probably due to the increase of his level, his senses became sharper despite him not getting any relevant training. Many people thought it was related to agility, but there was no concrete proof as of now. He took a few minutes to reach the south gate and looked at many people planning to go out. Just like last time, he needed to pass the gate first and registered his name there so the government knew that he passed this gate. If he didn't return in 30 days without prior notice, they usually changed his status to dead. He found a young man with military clothes standing by the gate and showed him his ID card. Since he was busy from the morning, the military guy didn't chat with him or anything and simply finished his job. After registering his name, Theo took back his ID card from his hand and walked outside. He couldn't go too far or the couple would lose his track, so he decided to wait for them a bit farther away from the gate. Meanwhile, the registration process made him realize another thing. They can actually see my real identity even if I go with my mask. I should get a fake ID sooner or later, but I don't really have a connection with someone like that. For now, it wouldn't be a problem and the military would remain neutral as long as the current president was still in power. Theo scratched the back of his head, not knowing what to do with this problem. For now, my identity is safe since no one is using this yet. Besides, I can simply use my real face when I pass the gate while using the mask when hunting. That's the solution for now. After 2 minutes, the couple would soon get their turns. Theo needed to get going soon, but it would make them suspicious if he weren't that far. He had prepared for this and opened his bag. Grabbing an empty water bottle, he threw it to the ground. With this, they should believe that I drank it and wasn't that far away, Theo thought, and began his journey. It took him another few minutes to encounter the first monster of the day. It was a lion. The lion had a tawny coat with a long tufted tail. Its large mane was darker than the usual lion surrounding its head and neck. He quickly picked up his device and pointed it at the lion. Name, Lion. Level, 8-20. The database had the personal information of the lion, but before he could read them, the lion had noticed his presence and roared. Theo quickly put back his device in his pants and raised his spear. This spear was elite rank spear, Eldritch spear, so its sharpness should be enough to handle the lion. Roar. With another roar, the lion leapt, pouncing him from above. Theo's agility was not like how it used to be. He avoided the lion by shifting his body to the left. He spun his body once to get his balance back and thrust his spear toward the lion's exposed butt. Pierce. He used all his strength, intending to end the fight in one blow, but the lion managed to sense his killing intent and took another leap forward. He somehow stabbed the lion's butt, albeit it was too shallow to be considered a wound. It was close to a graze instead. Therefore, Theo readied his stance again for another charge. The pain in the butt angered the lion as it turned around. This time the lion made a zigzag movement while getting closer to Theo. In addition to the fact that they were surrounded by trees, it limited Theo's movement while the lion was as if he was playing in the house. Slippery. Although the movement was fast, it didn't cover the distance with the previous speed, giving him a precious chance to prepare for an attack. Theo's eyes moved left and right while waiting for the lion to reach his attack range. As soon as the lion closed its distance to 3 feet away from him, Theo quickly thrust his spear. The lion stopped on his right and should move to the left again. So, Theo's thrust that came from the left should be in perfect sync, but the lion surprised him by taking one more step in the opposite direction, completely avoiding his spear. After that, the lion leapt forward to close the remaining distance in one go. Theo clenched his teeth. His thrust made him unable to move his upper body immediately, so he might need to take this hit, but he then realized that his lower body could still move. The movement was unstable, but he managed to deliver the kick from below, striking the lion's jaw from its blind spot. The lion stopped its movement and retreated a few steps back while glaring at Theo. I might have powered up and tied with Lost, but I shouldn't overestimate myself. To think that a lion managed to trick me. Theo realized that he became overconfident recently and tried to calm himself down. He might also have put too much faith in his plan against the couple. However, he had no time to reflect on his change. Taking one deep breath, he focused back on the fight and saw the lion doing the same zigzag movement. The lion did the same technique, and Theo thrust his spear from the left, intending to kill it with this one thrust. As he expected, the lion moved exactly the same and tried to attack Theo from the right. I have been waiting for this. Theo smiled and rotated the spear to reset his thrust. The lion already closed their gap. Right before its fang reached Theo, the spear's handle already came in its way. It ended up biting the spear instead. After that, Theo kicked the lion with his knee, forcing the lion to open its mouth with pain. With his spear gaining its freedom, he thrust the lion. The latter instinctively dodged to the right, but Theo managed to pierce the area next to its neck. Roar. Shut up. Theo pulled out his spear and kicked the lion on the head, blowing it several feet away. He then ran toward the lion and stabbed its head, killing the lion before it could recover. It still glared at Theo in its dying breath, but there was no resistance until it dropped to the ground. Killed a lion, normal. EXP plus 50. Status, normal. Level, 20. EXP, 160-246. Blessing, God of Mischief. Skill, Pierce, F, Clone, F, 8 slots remaining. Attributes, Strength 35, Endurance 15. Agility 24, Vitality 15, Magic Power 25. Free attribute points, 0. It's finally over. I should reflect on myself aft. Suddenly, Theo noticed the presence coming from behind. The two seemed to have caught up with him. He thought, I should get going. He touched the lion's head to check whether it would give him anything, but unfortunately, he found nothing after the lion disappeared. Sigh. Not my luck. He panted to give the illusion that he was a bit tired from that fight. The couple became even more confident in defeating Theo. As long as they let him exhaust himself for a bit longer, it would be a perfect time to ambush him. After waiting for 30 seconds, Theo ran again to search for the next target. He purposely lowered his speed, so they could keep up until he found a giant tree. Theo smiled when he found a wide trunk that he could use. As soon as the trunk covered Theo's body, Eric remembered the incident 2 days ago. We can't lose him again. Shella nodded and picked up the pace. He might have Noti. Before finishing her words, she saw Theo already come out of the trunk, returning to their vision again. The two realized that they were worried for nothing. Both had let out their own sigh of relief. Their eyes intertwined and said something with just a blink of an eye. It wasn't something complicated. They just came to a conclusion to continue following him. Little did they know, there was someone who was watching them from the top of the tree. Yes, it was Theo. He used the trunk to summon his clone and handed his weapon to his clone before climbing the tree. It took him 2 seconds to do that, but he managed to complete the task without them noticing. As expected. You two are fools. He narrowed his eyes while smiling. Chapter 14, Tasting Own Poison. Huffed. Huffed. Theo panted. In front of him stood a black bear, preparing to charge at him. Eric and Shella were hiding behind the tree, watching Theo's fight that would soon end. However, there was another person watching their movement. It was the real Theo. His full concentration was taken when his clone began fighting the bear. He thought, it's tough to control the clone in a full fight like this, but this battle taught me a lot. The couple is also ready to attack. I should end this battle as soon as possible. The bear had 4 finger-size holes in its body, 2 on its right arm and 2 on the stomach. Red blood flowed out continuously from the 4 holes, weakening the bear. The bear was on 4 and charged at him. Not scared of the challenge, Clone Theo jumped forward, closing his distance with the bear. When they were a few feet away, the bear stood up and swiped with its right paw. The strength of that paw would surely break a few ribs, so he had been avoiding it this whole time. And this time was no different. He hit the ground with his spear's butt, stopping his momentum. With that sudden stop, the bear swipe, which was supposed to hit him, missed the target and threw its balance. The moment he saw that chance, Theo pierced the bear's head like how he did against the lion. Unlike the lion, the bear couldn't even look at Theo before collapsing to the ground. Killed a black bear, normal. EXP plus 43. The spear's butt hit the ground and became his support to stand. He panted a few times before trying to take the water bottle from his bag. Suddenly, 2 figures ran toward him. Theo widened his eyes and saw Eric unsheathing his sword. Shella also came closer with her wooden wand. You are dead. No, you should have died last time and we wouldn't need to suffer. Eric shouted in anger. He still remembered how Lost beat them up after suffering in Theo's hand. All of it wouldn't happen if Theo died, so he hated Theo to the bone. A trash like you has no right to live. Eric pulled his sword. The moment he reached Theo, he would sever that head. You. Before he said more useless things, Theo had thrown his spear toward Eric, forcing him to stumble. Shella also stopped since Theo had a sword and raised her hand. Fireball. A round-shaped blue fire appeared above her head, spreading the heat to its surroundings. However, she sensed another presence beside them coming from their back. What? Glancing at her back, she found another Theo running toward them with his spear. Theo! Eric was shocked by that shout, took a glance behind him and got the same shock as Shella. This was a perfect chance that Theo could use at this moment. Clone Theo pulled out the sword from its scabbard and jumped toward Eric. Meanwhile, the real him thrust his spear toward Shella. Dodge! Eric shouted while dodging the sword. Shella's magic disappeared so that she could dodge to the side, albeit this was Theo's true goal. He positioned himself perfectly so when Shella avoided him, he would be able to reach Eric in one go. With Eric losing his balance, Theo struck with his spear. To his surprise, Eric managed to move his body even a bit as soon as he reached the ground, forcing Theo to miss his original aim, the heart. Arc! A scream echoed. Although the spear didn't pierce his heart, it still hit the left side of his heart, which was too painful to bear for an ordinary high school boy. His clone quickly waved the sword down to kill Eric, but he felt the heat from the side. Fireball. They glanced at Shella and jumped backward as the fireball passed them, hitting the tree not far from them and causing a small explosion. Had it hit him, it might not kill him, but he would have been severely injured. Theo sent his clone to distract Shella while he dealt with Eric. Obviously, Shella decided to send her magic to Theo's clone instead of Eric, even though she could save Eric and fought together against these two Theos. Back then, sacrificing Theo wasn't planned, but it could describe Shella's true nature. Yes, she was that selfish. Meanwhile, Eric grabbed his sword and swung it. Theo kicked his hand and pinned it on the ground with his foot. I am sorry, but your strength is not higher than me anymore. I leveled up a few times thanks to the turtle after all. He smiled. Without wasting his breath, he stabbed Eric's heart and killed him in one single blow. Without Eric, Shella shouldn't be able to do anything. Theo and his clone came from two opposite directions to confuse her. Fireball. She sent another fireball to the real Theo, but he managed to avoid it. His clone swiped his sword. She instinctively leapt back when she ascertained that the sword was aiming at her neck, albeit they were in the forest. Surrounded by trees, she found her back touching one. Theo maintained his aim and swung his sword, but Shella managed to escape to the side, resulting in his sword hitting the tree behind her instead. The splinters flew to her, but it was better than having her head fly. Unfortunately, the real Theo was coming from that direction and punched her on the cheek, sending her back to his clone. Shella had no escape route anymore as she moved back only to find her back hitting the tree. The real Theo pointed his spear at her neck while his clone placed his hand on the tree and ready to slash her at any moment. Wait. Please don't kill me. I was forced by Lost and Eric here. If not, they would me. Shella panicked and began begging for her life. And Theo's eyes remained cold. It's true. I didn't lie to you this time. They would have raped me had I not joined hands with them. I can do anything you want as long as you spare my life. I can be your girlfriend. With this explanation, Theo's eyes gradually became warmer as everything went according to his plan. You were really going through all those? Theo asked as he became hesitant. Shella's eyes brightened when she heard those words as if a ray of hope just fell upon her. She repeatedly nodded and explained. I never wanted to hurt you. In fact, I have liked you for a long time, but Lost and Eric found out and forced me with Eric. You. Theo's face was filled with doubts. Shella thought she would be able to escape this situation with one more push. She placed her hands on Theo's hands and smiled seductively. Yes. How about I prove it to you right now? Theo closed his eyes for a second and retracted his clone. Whatever. He looked away with a tinge red on his face. He took a few steps back and walked away while saying, I don't care anymore. Shella made a sinister smile. As soon as Theo showed her back to her, she created another fireball. With this distance and timing, Theo shouldn't be able to dodge this attack. And since Eric died in this mission, the money would obviously become her alone. Fireball. Shella summoned her fireball again while shouting. Haha. All men are foolish. And you? You are a freaking simp. You disgust me. Die. On the contrary, Theo glanced back with a smile, paying no attention to the fireball above her head. Die. I am not the one who is going to die. It's you. After all, I am not a simp. What did you say? I will kill. When she was about to finish her words, she heard something from her right. Creak. The sound became more and more apparent. Bothered with that sound, she glanced over to her right and found out that the sound turned out to be the sound of the wood cracking. Wah! Bam! The tree fell on top of her and pinned her down on the ground. Her fireball disappeared and her head began bleeding. A few ribs were broken with that alone. It turned out that Theo's swing had chopped away the huge portion of the trunk, enough to cause the tree to collapse. The reason it hadn't collapsed until now was due to his clone supporting it. However, Theo already predicted that Shella would once again betray his trust, so he decided to dismiss his clone and hurriedly went outside the falling tree's direction. And as he said, she would be the one dying. Arg! Her shrill echoed in the forest, but no one came to her aid. Although Theo aimlessly wandered around, he knew that this place had little to no visitor, so there was less possibility that someone would come to their aid. This was the accumulation of experience he had every time he went to this haven. Ah, I indeed won't kill you because the tree will be the one to kill you. Theo made a sinister smile. You are even more dangerous than Eric since no one knows whether you are spouting a lie or not. If I were forced to spare one life, I would choose Eric since he was easier to manipulate. Knowing that she would die in 1 or 2 minutes because of the bleeding if she weren't treated, Shella looked at Theo and raised her hand, trying to reach him. Help me. I was wrong. However, Theo turned blind eyes and checked his surroundings to make sure that no one was watching while saying, I wasn't wrong either, but you tried to kill me. If you didn't even want to help me, why should I help you? Having deceived who knows how many people with that poisonous tongue of yours, what it feels like when you are the one dying by the same poison. Chapter 15, Choice. Theo waited for several minutes without looking at how Shella slowly died even though her voice kept echoing in his ears. He only closed his eyes. Of course, killing someone, especially in a way like this, bothered him. He would be a psychopath. If not. However, he had no regret because his life would be in danger had he not killed her. Theo. Steal your heart. To reach your goal, you will face it on a daily basis. Theo clenched his fists and convinced himself. After a while, her voice dimmed and soon only the sound of the wind could be heard. Taking one deep breath, he peeked and found that Shella didn't move anymore. As much as he wanted to get anything valuable from what she and Eric brought, he decided to stop. It wasn't because of his morals. Instead, the search party, especially the Lang family, might come here and find them. If he showed any more trace than this, they might find out about him. All that left is. Theo looked to the side. To lure a monster here. After checking the loot from the bear, he proceeded to scout the area around him. It took him a whole 5 minutes before he heard something breaking near him. 40 feet away to his left, a wolf just stepped on a branch and snapped it into two. It smelled blood permeating the air and came all the way here. Theo, who first saw it, hurriedly hid behind a tree and summoned his clone while taking out his device, checking the monster's species. Name, Night Wolf. Level, 7-15. Since the wolf had yet to discover him, he chose to read more of the description. Night Wolf is a hunter of this forest during the night. They hunt alone during the day while moving with their pack during the night. I see. It seems I can safely lure this wolf, Theo thought while controlling his clone. Grrr. The wolf sensed Theo's presence and turned its head. Although it was completely unnecessary, Theo raised his middle finger with a smirk before turning around, running toward Shella and Eric. As if it got provoked by Theo's extreme action, it began chasing Theo. With his back facing the wolf, he could sense him but unaware of its actual distance. Even so, he kept running as fast as possible. Grrr. The wolf caught up in just a few seconds of running and leapt toward his right hand, trying to bite it off. The clone didn't bring a weapon and let the wolf shred his right arm with those sharp fangs. There was no pain and blood coming out of the ripped arm, but the real Theo felt a pressure in his head as his magic power rushed out of his body. Seriously? The clone uses this much magic when it gets hit? Theo thought while sweat dripped. Theo's right hand quickly disappeared as it wasn't connected with the body. Noticing that there was nothing in its mouth, the wolf got angered and planned to strike him from behind to eat him as a whole. Theo smiled and jumped to the side, avoiding its charge. He kept running for another 10 seconds, continuously avoiding every single attack. Almost, growled Theo in a low voice before finding the big tree that fell down earlier. Shella's body was still underneath it while Eric was in the open. As soon as he saw them, Theo slowed down his pace and purposely let the wolf hit him. The wolf grazed his back with its paw. Using that chance, Theo deactivated his clone, forcing it to disappear. Without him blocking the wolf's sight, it quickly realized Shella's and Eric's bodies on the ground. The blood scent permeated from it perfectly fit with the one it smelled earlier. The wolf looked around for one more time. After confirming that it was safe, the wolf began munching the corpses as if it was a feast. Theo didn't dare to watch the process and silently walked away. He stopped by a tree, a few 100 feet away, and sat on the ground with his back leaning on the tree. His eyes focused on the blue sky. How peaceful. Theo forced himself to say those 2 words. Although it was only for precaution, he still believed what he did was a bit too excessive. I thought I had steeled myself to do this, but why did I become this weak? He pinched the bridge of his nose and took a few deep breaths. I should finish my original objective and stop thinking about this topic. He ended up shaking his head a few times to regain his focus and stood up. Suddenly, a burst of laughter filled his ears. Kiki. Kiki kiki kiki. In that instant, Theo knew that the laughter didn't come from a human. He took a peek behind the tree, raised his vision, and thought, it's a monkey. Even without the monster checker, I already know this monster. Deku Monkey. Its level is similar to the black bear I faced, but instead of its overwhelming power, this guy is agile. With my current fighting ability, this will be a perfect matchup for me to see how far I can go today. He summoned his clone and gave him his sword. As a careful person, Theo sent his clone to go first, so the monkey would focus on him. Kiki. The monkey had brown furs and red hands. Its tail was a bit longer than the monkey that could be found on Earth. Considering the monkey's position, Theo grabbed a small stone on the ground and tossed it as hard as possible. His aim wasn't that good anyway, so he just planned to hit the tree instead of the monkey. Luckily, the monkey acted as he predicted. It jumped off the tree as soon as the stone hit the trunk and landed on the ground. Clone Theo raised his sword while looking ahead to check whether there was another monkey like this around. While checking, the monkey saw that Theo dropped a significant amount of his focus. It took that chance to close the distance between them before throwing a punch right to his face. Theo smiled and regained his focus. His right hand clenched the sword tighter and waved it horizontally in order to cut the monkey's hand that came from below him. Unfortunately, the monkey was less than a meter, so he couldn't slash its neck together with the hand. Kiki. The monkey's instincts seemed to be stronger than the average Deku monkey's. It sensed Theo's attack, pulled the hand, and ducked down. The second attack also came from below, but it didn't aim at Theo's face anymore. It turned out that the monkey was worse than expected. The second attack actually aimed at his ball. Clone Theo quickly spun his sword and pierced downward in order to stop the monkey's fist. Not wanting to be stabbed by the sword, the monkey pulled back again and retreated a few steps. The real Theo then made his appearance and thrust his spear right on the monkey's neck. To his surprise, the monkey spun its body mid-air and threw a punch. Unlike the previous movement, the monkey acted as if it didn't fear the spear. It turned out that it had confidence in handling the spear. Right before the spear's blade pierced its fist, the monkey shifted its body and grabbed the spear's handle like how he moved around the tree branches. With the additional monkey's weight, Theo lowered his spear. This became the chance that the monkey could take advantage of. The monkey launched itself toward Theo and punched him in the face. The sharp pain woke him up and made him realize what just happened. His body rolled on the ground a few times before his hand lifted him up and launched him 2 feet in the air, allowing him to regain his balance and stop his momentum. For 1 second, Clone Theo stopped due to the lack of command from the real him. It seems I need to continuously operate my clone or people will realize it sooner or later. Theo thought while swearing in his heart not to do it again. Clone Theo quickly restarted its movement and charged at the monkey, swinging his sword downwards. The monkey grabbed the spear again and used it to block the sword. Why is this monkey so smart? Theo was astonished by this degree of intelligence. He remembered when the one bestowed him his current power actually applauded for his luck, not his strength, a few days ago. Theo might have yet to be qualified to fight the monster around here. I need more training after this, Theo muttered in a low voice and pulled his spear to throw the monkey's balance, but it turned out that the monkey had somehow expected it. Kiki. A strange white light fluctuated on the monkey's hand, traveling forward to his stomach. What? A skill? Theo widened his eyes, raised his spear, and blocked the punch with the spear's handle, albeit the force behind that punch was not something that his strength was capable of fully stopping it. Kiki. In addition to the laughter, the monkey blew Theo several feet away.